Chapter 868. What? Xian is stationed in the Divine Heaven Fortress? Bailey Qin stared at Fu Yu and his subordinates in astonishment as he stood in front of the map. What's going on? Why is Xian standing in front of us? If we don't conquer the Divine Heaven Fortress, we won't be able to advance any further. This subordinate doesn't know either. Fu Yu frowned. It seems that Xian is also interested in conquering this continent. She has gathered more than 20,000 people and called themselves the Xian Legion. Currently, the Xian Legion is the main force guarding the Divine Heaven Fortress. Does this battle angel want to be the ruler of the Shattered Cauldron Realm? Bailey Qin couldn't help but laugh. Interesting. I wonder if Lord Claude of the Western Divine Realm will laugh or cry when he hears this news? Marshal, what should we do now? Dragon Rider Han Shu asked. This is not good. Bailey Qin frowned. If the battle angel really occupies the Divine Heaven Fortress, we can't do it by force. If the Blackstone Empire attacks the Divine Heaven Fortress, we will be accused of disobeying the Divine Realm. After all, the battle angel represents the will of the Lord Ruler. Moreover, the members of this battle angel team aren't simple. Terralin is the successor of the Radiant Clan, Lake is the son of the Dark Light Clan's patriarch, Zhou Shimin, Da Vinci, and the others aren't simple either. If we fight, we won't be fighting a battle angel team, but the major clans behind the Western Divine Realm. Their combined forces are enough to control half of the Western Divine Realm. Even the Lord Ruler will be wary of them. This. Han Shu frowned. If that's the case, then we can't conquer the Divine Heaven Fortress. We can only choose to attack the Dragon Slaying Pass. However, that Su Jiantao is a bit tricky. He's a cunning guy. We already suffered a great loss in his hands. What's there to be afraid of? Bailey Qin laughed coldly. Don't forget, we still have a total of 200,000 soldiers in our hands, and we also have 82 Dragon Knights. With this kind of strength, we can completely crush the Dragon Slaying Pass and kill all of Su Jiantao's troops. Marshal is wise. This subordinate will go and assemble the troops. We will attack Dragon Slaying Pass in 2 days. Fu Yu was overjoyed. Don't worry. Bailey Qin's gaze was like lightning as he said, we can't be rash this time. We'll send a few deity-level experts into the Dragon Slaying Pass in disguise. It won't be too late to make a move after getting a clear grasp of the situation. This time, I want to be absolutely safe. We definitely can't fall for that despicable Su Jiantao's tricks again. In addition, leave 10,000 men to guard outside the Shengtian Pass to restrain the Xian Legion. Yes, Marshal. In the Western Divine Realm, a spiritual mountain shrouded in fog was radiating with light. The Western Divine Realm held a grand meeting every year. Clan heads from various planes, as well as some gods with outstanding cultivation, would gather here. Ruler Claude was precisely using this grand meeting to understand the movements of the various clans. After all, there were too many gods in the Western Divine Realm, and it was impossible to control them all. In the evening, Xian appeared in the Divine Palace and said respectfully, Lord Ruler, the 17 clan heads are already waiting in the guest hall. Alright, we'll head over now. Claude turned around, and the light on his face slowly dissipated. To her astonishment, it was an extremely handsome male face. However, Xian's gaze was indifferent. After following Claude for so many years, she was already used to this face. Moreover, with Xian's cultivation, she had long since grown accustomed to the appearance of a physical person. No matter how handsome a man was, in her eyes, he was just flesh and blood. The guest hall was located on the west side of the spiritual mountain where the Hall of Ruler was located. It was a very simple and unadorned building, but it had a long history. It could even be traced back to the War of the Gods 100,000 years ago. 13 god emperors had conspired to kill Ares, the king of all gods in the Western Divine Realm. At that time, Claude had been one of the 13 god emperors. When Claude, Xian, and Eva appeared in the guest hall, they saw that the hall was filled with lit candles. A dozen clan heads in white robes sat in their respective seats. Some of these clan heads were very young, while others were very old, with white hair and beards. Only a few of them were young. Some of them had lived for so long that they could live forever, but their faces were still slowly aging over the course of tens of thousands of years. Everyone stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, Lord Ruler." "Greetings, Lord Blazing Angel Xian, Lord Blazing Angel Eva." "Dispense with the formalities." Claude gracefully sat down in the host's seat, smiled, and said, "My lords, you've all worked hard. It is our duty to work for the divine capital." Everyone took their seats, with Xian and Eva sitting on either side of Claude. Claude's gaze swept across the clan heads, and a handsome smile appeared on his face as he said, "I've invited everyone here for a secret meeting before the big meeting. In fact, there's only one thing." "Oh? Please speak, Lord Ruler," a white-robed elder said with a smile. "Thank you, Lord Talon." Claude cleared his throat and said, "The last divine war was a few years ago, when we went to war with East Heaven. Everyone should have heard of this matter. Many clans also participated in that divine war, and this divine war could only be considered a draw. We and East Heaven both lost many gods. East Heaven lost 3 emperor gods, 27 god kings, and nearly 1,000 ultimate gods, while we lost 18 four-winged angels and nearly 2,000 two-winged angels. After this war, divine capital can be said to have suffered heavy losses, and there is a shortage of talents. Therefore, the purpose of this meeting is to hope that the major clans can transfer a part of their strength to divine capital, under my direct command." This light clan head Talon was a little hesitant, frowned, and said, "Lord Ruler, there has been no news of my daughter Terralyn since she participated in the chosen god trial. This subordinate only learned a few days ago that her name has disappeared from the Western Divine Realms roster. I don't know where my daughter went. Terralyn hasn't returned yet, and you want her again? This is a little inappropriate. It's not easy for the major clans to cultivate talents." A group of clan heads nodded. "Yes, yes." Another old clan head said, "My son Lake also disappeared after the chosen god trial. I heard some rumors that they joined the Battle Angel squad and were exiled from the Western Divine Realm. I don't know if it's true." The corner of Claude's mouth raised. "Yes, it's true. The Western Divine Realm has always cherished talents. Terralyn, Lake, and the others are the outstanding generation of the Western Divine Realm, so I exiled them and let them train outside the Divine Realm. I think the patriarchs will understand." His attitude was a little overbearing, implying that it didn't matter if they understood or not, but they had to understand. Talon was exasperated, but after a sigh, he remained silent. The other elders also had indifferent expressions on their faces. Claude's eyes turned cold. "What? When the divine capital needs the loyalty of the major clans, have you all retreated? Don't forget that no egg can remain intact when the nest is turned upside down. The 7 luminaries demon emperor of East Heaven is a crazy person. His desire to destroy the Western Divine Realm hasn't died. Once the divine capital is destroyed, do you think you can keep your fiefdoms?" Talon coughed. "Ruler, you misunderstand. It's not that we don't want to be loyal, but we really don't have much strength left." "Is that so?" Claude smiled. "But I heard that the major clans have produced many talents in recent years. Let's take Lord Talon's Radiance clan for example. In the past 3,000 years, you have produced a total of 7 god emperors, more than 100 god kings, and countless godly venerables. Does this count as having no strength?" Talon's expression darkened. The other patriarchs were also silent. It was obvious that Claude was digging up their flesh, and it was something they couldn't refuse. After a while, Claude said, "The 17 clans here must each provide 20 god kings and 100 godly venerables to serve in the divine capital next month. You have to do it whether you want to or not. This is your responsibility as vassals. As he said that, Claude's eyes were like sharp swords. Shi Yan, you will be in charge of accepting these talents. If there are any clans that haven't completed this task by the end of next month, Shi Yan, you can lead the divine capital army to annihilate them. Even if you have to destroy an entire realm, it's not like you haven't done this before. Shi Yan nodded. Yes, my lord. Blazing Angel Shi Yan was a name that made many clans tremble in fear. When the Yuehua clan openly rebelled and colluded with the Northern Heaven realm, it was Shi Yan who led the angel army to annihilate them. The hundreds of gods of the Yuehua clan were all killed, and even the 3 realms under their seal were annihilated. Shi Yan had a faint smile on her face as she said softly, Elder Talon, your daughter Terralyn and my sister Sheen are good friends. Please don't make things difficult for me. Talon's body trembled slightly. Yes, I will. I only hope that Lord Ruler can protect my daughter and let Terralyn return safely. Don't worry, Lord Talon. Terralyn is a future talent of the Western Divine Realm. I can't not cherish her. Then, thank you, Lord Ruler. The leaders of the various clans all expressed their willingness to contribute their talents. Claude was full of smiles. This was exactly what he wanted to see. Shi Yan, however, frowned slightly and remained silent. She seemed to have guessed that Claude was going to do something crazy again. Late at night, the meeting ended. Claude returned to the temple and brought with him a beautiful 2-winged angel. She didn't remember the girl's name, but Shi Yan knew that she was Claude's woman. There would be new angels serving Claude every day. This was an open secret. In the sky, the stars were dim. Shi Yan and Eva sat at the top of the Spirit Mountain, their 4 snowy legs kicking the clouds in the air. What is the Lord Ruler doing? Gathering so many people. Eva didn't understand. Someone else is going to be exiled, Shi Yan said. Huh? Eva was stunned. It can't be, right? Does the Lord want to exile millions of divine kings and thousands of godly venerables to the celestial pole continent? What else? Shi Yan's eyes were like water. There hasn't been any news from the celestial pole continent. The Lord is getting impatient. The Shattered Cauldron realm has already become a mortal battlefield between the Eastern and Western divine realms. Pray, Eva, that we won't be exiled. Eva. Chapter 869. On the 15th day of the 5th lunar month, after 6 days of a large-scale and roundabout battle, the 50,000 cavalrymen under Feng Jixing arrived at the Yunzhong Sluice in a grandiose manner. On top of the Yunzhong Sluice stood a fortress that had been around for decades. It was the Yunzhong Pass, and the purpose of Feng Jixing's trip this time was the Yunzhong Pass. Only by guarding the Yunzhong Pass could they stop the iron hooves of Long Ji's army from continuing to invade the south. Feng Jixing had no other choice. Raising her head to look at the towering fortress, Luo Yu could not help but furrow her brows and said, I wonder how long we will have to stay here. Until we have accumulated enough power to go on a northern expedition and recover our lost land. Feng Jixing's gaze was deep as he said, enter the pass and pass down my order to take over the entire Yunzhong Pass. Send a letter to all the prefectures and prefectures of the Yunzhong province. Take in all those who have yet to surrender or have already surrendered, as long as they come to seek refuge in the Yunzhong Pass, we cannot let the hearts of the people of the empire be bitterly disappointed. Yes, Your Highness. The Yunzhong Sluice was adjacent to the ancient Cloud Road, which was the lifeline of transportation. A large number of iron hooves entered the fortress from the ancient Cloud Road. The general guarding the city was an old subordinate of Lin Muyu, who was once a gold star instructor of the Divine Temple. Now, he had become a general guarding the city. When he saw Feng Jixing's arrival, he did not hesitate to hand over the city to him. To the soldiers of the empire, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were the 2 gods of war, supreme existences. Feng Jixing stepped onto the city wall and gazed into the distance to the north. Ignoring his weariness, he continued to issue orders for the defense of the city and recruited people to repair the city wall. After all, there had been no war between Yunzhong province and Lanyan city for many years. Much of Yunzhong Pass's city wall, which stretched for dozens of miles, had been in disrepair for a long time. If it was not repaired, it would collapse at the first blow. Leaning against the cold stone wall, Feng Jixing looked at the endless flow of the Daojiang River from the north. The current was rapid, and in the middle of the river, there was a constant stream of gigantic heads. These were the frost-armored horned dragons. They lived in the Daojiang River's Yunzhong province, and for decades, no one was willing to go near the Daojiang River. These frost-armored horned dragons were huddled together below the sluice gate, roaring. It was this huge sluice gate that prevented them from going south. If they all went south, then the southern fishermen and farmers would suffer a calamity. "Your Highness, do you have any other instructions?" Luo Yu asked in a low voice. "No more." Feng Jixing felt a little helpless. He frowned and looked at the rapid Daojiang. After a few seconds, he said, "Luo Yu, how is the defense of the Seven Seas province?" "Fang Lan is not a good person. After taking Muyu City, the next step is probably Seven Seas City. If we lose the two great cities in the north, we will be the sinners of the empire, an eternal shame. Rest assured, Your Highness. The Seven Seas province is temporarily guarded by General Chen Xiaoli. A few days ago, he began to gather the troops of all the provinces in the province. Including the troops of the headquarters, there are at least 150,000 people. The mountain range between the Seven Seas province and Yunzhong province is easy to defend and hard to attack. With General Chen Xiaoli's ability, I believe there will be no problem." "Yes." Feng Jixing muttered to himself, "It's been a long time since I've seen Chen Xiaoli. I wonder how he is now." "That's right, send out the War Eagle scouts to search for the scattered Steel Blade army and bring them back to Yunzhong Pass. Send as many as you can. Also, send messengers to all the prefectures and prefectures of Heaven's Pivot Province. Order more than 70% of the prefectural army to come to Yunzhong Pass and await my orders." "Yes, Your Highness." "Wait. Is there anything else, Your Highness?" Feng Jixing pondered for a moment, then said, "Order people to rub 100 war banners with the word Qin on them and distribute them to all the divisions in Yunzhong Pass. I want the whole army to know whose army we belong to and who we are fighting for." "Yes, Your Highness, Your Highness." Feng Jixing could not help but take a deep breath as he watched Luo Yu leave in a hurry. It was a wise decision to ask Luo Yu to come over from Lin Muyu's side back then. Otherwise, how could he have such a capable general now? As for Zhang Wei, it was fine for him to charge and break through enemy lines. He had the air of a general, but it was far from enough for him to do some administrative work. The empire's military had always valued military strength over civil affairs, but there were many drawbacks. If the empire really did not fall after this war, it would be time to pay more attention to civil affairs. After all, the money and finances that Qin Jin had accumulated for so many years had almost all been used up in these 10 years. At this moment, the empire's treasury could be said to be empty and the entire country was exhausted. It was not until the afternoon that the voice of a messenger woke Feng Jixing up from his dream. "Your Highness, the remnants of the Steel Blade army have returned." "Ah!" Feng Jixing flipped over and fell from the chair. He had not slept for 5 consecutive days and was too tired. He only activated his divine power when he was about to hit the ground. With a wave of his palm, his body floated up and he opened the door. He asked, "Who is back?" "Your Highness, it is the Steel Blade army that followed Commander Luo Xian out of the city to meet the enemy. They were led by Qin Yong, the commander of the right army of the Steel Blade army. After they were ambushed, they were chased by Long Ji's army twice and suffered heavy losses. They are now outside the city. General Zhang Wei asked me to report and ask if they should be allowed to enter Yunzhong Pass." "All right, I will go over now. Feng Jixing stepped forward. A flash of lightning flashed, but he had already disappeared from where he was. He had broken through the void and left. Pa. Under the shade of the willow tree on the ancient path in the clouds, a flash of lightning burst forth. With a sway of his body, Feng Jixing appeared several lis away. When he appeared, Zhang Wei and the others behind him were slightly stunned. However, they soon calmed down. Everyone in the Imperial Guards knew that Feng Jixing was a divine realm expert and did not find it strange. However, on the ancient path, a group of defeated soldiers stood there in an extremely dismal and solemn manner. The person at the very front leaped down from his battle horse. His armor was no longer complete, and there were saber marks on his arms and chest, stained with blood. The battle saber in his hand was also filled with cracks, and his face seemed as if it had been smeared with blood. Qin Yong was a distant descendant of the Qin royal family. His ancestors were of the ancestral bloodline, but in this generation, they were getting further and further away from the direct line of descent. As a result, Qin Yong was originally just a minor commandant of a province. However, this minor commandant had relied on his own capabilities to slowly climb up to the position of the right army's commander through his battle achievements. All troops, get off your horses and pay your respects to Prince Xian. Qin Yong let out a loud bellow, and the soldiers behind him, who seemed as if they had just been fished out from a pool of blood, got off their horses. They performed the Empire's military salute in unison, kneeled on the ground with their right knee, and placed their left hand naturally on their left knee. They lowered their heads respectfully. This was the Empire's military salute, and it would only be used when meeting with marquises and the Emperor. Rise. Feng Jixing's voice was resolute and decisive as he said, perform the military salute. I, Feng Jixing, am a soldier. Yes. Qin Yong stood up and led the soldiers behind him in saluting. They cupped their fists, holding on to their weapons with their right hands while their left hands covered the back of their right hands. They appeared respectful and mighty. Feng Jixing also saluted them. This was the respect between soldiers. General Qin Yong, how many more people do you have? He asked. Qin Yong's body trembled. Your Highness, when we left the city, there were 50,000 men who followed Duke Xian. Among them, close to 20,000 were my brothers from the Right Corps. After we were ambushed, we lost 50% of our men. I only brought 10,000 men with me and fought our way out. After that, we were hunted down twice 3 and 5 days ago, leaving only over 7,000 brothers. Along the way, we lacked rations, and many of our brothers were injured or died of hunger. I'm incompetent, and over 1,000 of our men died of hunger. Many of our war horses have been slaughtered, but, are there no villages or towns along the way? Feng Jixing said fiercely, why didn't you resupply rations in the villages or towns? Your Highness, Qin Yong trembled and once again knelt on the ground, saying, I'm incompetent, but the Empire's military law states that we mustn't disturb the commoners. The villages and towns along the way have already been plundered by the Tianji Empire's soldiers. Many commoners have lost their homes and don't even have food to eat. How can I command my troops to plunder? Those brothers from the Right Corps who died of hunger would rather die than plunder commoners. Your Highness, please punish them. Good. Feng Jixing's eyes were a little blurry, and his voice was a little shaky. Good job, General Qin Yong. This is the model of the Empire's soldiers. A year ago, His Highness, you reformed the military system and reorganized the military salute. The left hand holding the lid is the hand holding the soldier. The meaning is bravery doesn't cause chaos, and strength doesn't violate the law. General Qin Yong, you are more qualified to be a soldier of the Qin family than Su Zhangyan, who surrendered. What? Qin Yong was stunned. Deputy Commander Su Zhangyan, he surrendered? Otherwise? Feng Jixing's face was cold as he said, Su Zhangyan didn't resist and easily gave up Muyu City. This is a disgrace to the empire and also a disgrace to the Su family. Qin Yong, I appoint you as the new commander of the Iron Blade Army. From today onwards, you will receive the scattered soldiers of the Iron Blade Army that have returned from Yunzhong Pass. The soldiers that we recruit will also be used to replenish the Iron Blade Army. Can you be a good commander? Qin Yong was stunned. In an instant, he was promoted from the commander of the Right Corps to the Iron Blade Army. This promotion came too quickly, but he didn't have time to be happy. His heart was filled with revenge. He cupped his fists and said, "This general obeys. Let's enter the pass. Zhang Wei, arrange a camp for the brothers of the Iron Blade Army. Immediately send orders to the Spirit Fire Department to cook. Let everyone have a full meal first." Zhang Wei cupped his fists and said, "Yes, Your Highness." Luo Yu stood beside Feng Jixing and watched the defeated soldiers of the Iron Blade Army enter the pass. Her heart was indescribably heavy, just like Feng Jixing's. Feng Jixing had transferred the last 50,000 cavalrymen from the Imperial Guards, Longdan Army Camp, and God Might Battalion to reinforce Muyu City, but he didn't expect this result. The result of 10 famous generals dying on the battlefield could be lost just because of a single general who surrendered. 3 days later, the remnants of the Iron Blade Army gathered from the mountains, fertile fields, and jungles of Yunzhong Province. In the end, there was a troop of 30,000 people. People couldn't help but wring their hands. The Iron Blade Army, which used to have 200,000 people, now only had this one person left. Phrases like Northern Iron Lion, Empire's First Army, and Su family's mighty army all became fleeting clouds. Chapter 870. Good news. Good news. The Warhawk scout flew into the meeting hall with a letter in his hand. His face was full of joy as he said loudly, "Your Highnesses, Princess Shi, a report of victory from the Demon Clan's headquarters in the sky-piercing gorge in Ba Huang Province." Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, Zhen Yifan, and Su Yu all looked up, waiting for the good news to be read. The War Eagle scout was a young soldier, his face was still childish. "Your Highnesses, good news, I know, read it." Lin Muyu smiled. "Yes." He quickly opened the letter and said, "Tong Tian Gorge, Qianfeng reported that Bai Minghuan personally led 100,000 troops to attack Tong Tian Gorge. The celestial race used 10,000 Southern Iron Cavalry, 40,000 human reserves, 3 giant flying snakes, and 9,000 armor demons to fight the enemy for 4 days. Both sides suffered heavy losses, and the Flowing Spirit Army was forced to retreat. The army has already returned to Tong Tian City." "Good." Lin Muyu was overjoyed. This was the only good news she had received these days. She clenched her fists and said excitedly, "Qianfeng did not disappoint me." "When did this news come?" "Last night." The War Eagle scout said, "I flew back after receiving the letter. General Qianfeng also asked me to tell Your Highness that he thanked you for the celestial race's battle robes." "Okay, I got it. You can go to the Spirit Fire Department and have a good meal." "Yes, thank you, Your Highness." The soldier left excitedly. His joy was easy to understand. The Qin Empire had lost many battles, and they needed a victory to boost their morale. Although Qianfeng's troops did not win, they were able to delay the Flowing Spirit Army's 100,000 troops at Tong Tian Gorge. This in itself was already a victory. "Your Highness, don't be so happy. Bai Minghuan could not take down Tong Tian Gorge, so his next target is very likely to be our Luo River estuary." Zhen Yifan coughed and poured cold water on Lin Muyu. "Yes." Lin Muyu didn't deny it. Instead, she asked, "How many soldiers do we have at the Luo River estuary?" Tang Xiaoxi explained with great familiarity, "All the major armies have removed all their cavalry and given them to Commander Feng Jixing to take away. Right now, the military strength at the Luo River estuary is very worrying. The Longdan Army camp has 50,000 elite infantrymen, the God Might Battalion has 20,000 elite soldiers, the National Garrison Army has 17,000 soldiers, and Ant Lien has 8,000 soldiers from the Zither Dragon Army. The entire Luo River estuary has less than 100,000 soldiers. After the battle at the mouth of the Luo River, the demon army from the Endless Forest had been reduced from 200,000 to 60,000. 3 days ago, Tang Xiaoxi had ordered the demon army to return to the Endless Forest. After all, this was a war between humans. They couldn't let the entire demon army die. That would be too unfair to them. 100,000 is enough. Lin Muyu twirled the dry brush in her hand and said, as long as we don't go out, Bai Minghuan can't do anything to us. Is there any news from the other places? How many soldiers are there in each place? Su'er said, General Feng should be at Yunzhong Pass now. He has 50,000 elite soldiers there. Then there's Seven Seas City. Chen Xiaoli has 150,000 soldiers. Then there's Lingnan. The 70,000 soldiers from Mingshan province that Xiang Yu took with him should still be there. Chen Xiaoli, Lin Muyu smiled faintly. I didn't expect Chen Xiaoli's army to be the one with the most soldiers in our Qin army. Let's hope he can defend the Seven Seas City. Xian Yifun's gaze was cold as he said, the traitor's Long Ji Corps is in Muyu City, which is less than 1,000 miles away from Seven Seas City. Their cavalry will be able to reach Seven Seas City in about 2 days. The Long Ji Corps has God State experts like Fong Lan and Lin Tongtian. I'm worried that if they carry out an assassination mission, Chen Xiaoli's life will be in danger. His words were like a knife stabbing into Lin Muyu's heart. In reality, everyone could think of this, but the Qin Empire simply didn't have enough God State experts. Everyone knew that they had to protect Chen Xiaoli, the Seven Seas Province's commander-in-chief, but it didn't seem right for anyone to go. After a while, Tang Xiaoxi bit her lips and said in a low voice, Seven Seas Province was Grandpa's land, and it's also our Tang family's land. I think I should go. I'll leave tonight, and should be able to reach Seven Seas City tomorrow morning. With me there, it won't be easy for them to assassinate Chen Xiaoli. Moreover, I can command the Seven Seas City's army. No. Lin Muyu immediately rejected and said, I've seen how powerful Lin Tongtian is. Shao Shi, you're definitely not his match. I can't let you take the risk alone. His concern warmed Tang Xiaoxi's heart. She smiled and said, but Mu, if I don't go, who else can? We all know that I'm the most suitable person to go. It seemed that Tang Xiaoxi had made up her mind to go. Then, let's send one more person. Lin Muyu glanced at the people on both sides of the table and said, Yang Yan, you and Shao Shi will go to Seven Seas City together. The two of you must be together at all times. If the two of you work together, Lin Tongtian will definitely not be your match. This, isn't it a little inappropriate? Yang Yan was a little hesitant. Why isn't it appropriate? A blush appeared on Yang Yan's beautiful face. Everyone knows how dangerous Seven Seas City is. Lin Tongtian is known as the #1 dragon rider of the Tianji Dragon Cavalry. If something were to happen to him, Princess Shi and I would both die for our country. Wouldn't His Highness you lose 2 women at the same time? How tragic would that be? Just thinking about it makes my chest ache. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth twitched. When did you become my woman? Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao could not help but burst into laughter. Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, all right, it's decided. Yang Yan, you and Shao Shi will go to Seven Seas City together. You must be careful. Other than that. Spiritual scholar Su Hao. Yes. Su Hao bowed politely. What other heavenly tomes do you have? Prepare some for Shao Shi and Yang Yan. With the help of the heavenly tomes, I believe they will be able to gain the upper hand. Yes, successor. I still have 2 divine tomes and 5 heavenly tomes. Give them to Princess Shi. All right. In the middle of the night, two figures turned into streams of light and disappeared into the western horizon. Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyang Yan had gone to Seven Seas Province. In the spacious courtyard, Lin Muyu was dressed in a white royal forest armor. He stood there alone with a trace of loneliness in his eyes. He also hoped that Tang Xiaoxi could stay by his side. However, the world always made fools of people and it was difficult to get what one wanted. The threats that Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyang Yan faced were not just Lin Tongtian, Fang Lan and the Dragon Knights. There was also the battle angel sent by the Heaven Realm. That four-winged battle angel Dora. With Tang Xiaoxi's current cultivation, what would happen if she met Dora? The only consolation was that Tang Xiaoxi had broken through level 30 and comprehended the God's Wall with the help of the Demon Spirit Stone and the Broken Godhead. In addition to the increase in demonic power from the nine-tailed transformation, her strongest combat power was around level 50 Grotto Heaven. However, it was said that Dora was a four-winged black-winged battle angel. An angel's wings could also greatly increase combat power. As such, Tang Xiaoxi was still at a disadvantage in terms of strength. Ouyang Yan had the strength of a god king. After recasting her godhead, she should also have the strength of level 50 Grotto Heaven. However, Lin Muyu had no idea how much she could help Tang Xiaoxi. He really wanted to send Wu Tong, Zhengjian, and the others to the Seven Seas Province, but he couldn't. The threat that Lingdong Province faced was not only from Baiminghuan in the north, but also from the sea. Ever since the Blue Wind Sea battle, the coastline had been completely lost. The coastal cities were harassed by pirates every day. Most of these pirates were from the scattered mercenary groups of the Blackstone Empire. They were cruel and ruthless. Someone had to deal with them. At this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from the entrance of the courtyard. It was Wei Chou. Your Highness, there's news from Changfeng County, north of Winter Frost City. A mercenary group from the Blackstone Empire has occupied Changfeng County this morning. There are about 3,000 of them, and they're robbing and killing everywhere. They killed the county governor, occupied the county capital, and even violated the 3 concubines of the county governor. Should we send troops? No need. Lin Muyu waved his hand. The main force of the Longdan army camp must stay at the Luo River estuary stronghold. I'll go to Changfeng County. It's just 3,000 people. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Yes. Be careful, Your Highness. Do you need me to go with you? No need. You stay at the Luo River estuary. What about Wu Tong and Zhengjian? This morning, Your Highness sent them to Chiluo County to exterminate the pirates. Did Your Highness forget? Oh, I didn't forget. Alright, I'll go to Changfeng County. I'll leave this place to you. Yes. Before he finished speaking, Lin Muyu had already disappeared. The speed at which he broke through the void was extraordinarily fast. Wei Chou was a little dumbfounded. After cultivating the Ghost God Lattice, Wei Chou had also stepped into the first sky of the immortal state. However, his ability to break through the void paled in comparison to Lin Muyu's. In fact, none of the experts that Wei Chou had seen before, including Chu Chu, Tang Xiaoxi, and Ouyang Yan, could break through the void as quickly and quietly as Lin Muyu. Late at night, Chiluo County, a city on the eastern coast of the empire. The total population of Chiluo County was about 30,000. More than 80% of the city's population made a living by selling Chiluo conches. Chiluo conches were a type of giant snail with delicious meat. They were about the size of a fist and could be used as dry rations after being cooked. After the Blue Wind Sea battle, the people of Chiluo County no longer dared to go out to sea to fish. They didn't want to leave the city where their ancestors lived. However, danger still arrived. As dozens of large ships approached the shore, more than 3,000 mercenaries from the Blackstone Empire came ashore and killed more than 200 guards of the county. They had already regarded this small city as their own territory. In front of the county, a group of people were crying endlessly. There were about 5,000 people, but they were surrounded by mercenaries with torches in their hands. They were trembling all over and didn't dare to imagine what would be waiting for them. At the top of the stairs, a man in black armor with a saber in his hand slowly walked down. Golden light shone beneath his feet, making him look like a celestial being. He grinned and said, "Pick out all the young and beautiful girls between the ages of 16 and 25. Chapter 871. Cries and cries for help echoed in the crowd. Mercenaries armed with swords and knives entered the crowd and carefully selected. Soon, dozens of young women were picked out and dragged out by a group of mercenaries. "Let go of my daughter! Let go of my daughter!" The old father's eyes were bloodshot. His palms were covered in crisscrossed cuts, the result of long periods of casting nets. Every cut was filled with pain, as well as the heavy harvest of the nets. Fishermen knew how to be grateful to the sea, but they didn't understand how terrifying the desires of animals could be. Scram! A mercenary walked up and kicked the father to the ground. The mercenary captain raised his war blade and walked up, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. His boots had already stepped on the old father's back, and the faint sound of bones breaking could be heard. The father's forehead was covered in sweat from the pain, but he still shouted, Let go of my daughter. I'm willing to trade my life for her." However, no one paid any attention to his screams or his daughter's helpless tears. "Draw your bows." The mercenary captain raised his hand, and hundreds of mercenaries immediately drew their bows, pointing them straight at the commoners in the square. He smiled faintly and said, "My name is Song of the North Flow, a descendant of the famed General North Flow Lang, the current captain of the North Flow mercenary group. I've come all the way from the Blackstone Empire for the sake of making a living. Fellow elders, please take care of me, a person who has come all the way from afar. Men, bring out the name list of the prefectural city and invite the local nobles here." A gentle-looking mercenary held up the name list and said, "Salt merchant Su Gu, snail merchant Zhang Qian, brocade merchant Zhou Xian, lumber merchant Wang Lei, house builder O Yechi." He read out a long list of names, and Song of the North Flow's eyes swept across the crowd. Finally, the local traders pointed them out one by one, and the dozens of local merchants were invited to the bottom of the steps. "You are the salt merchant Su Gu?" Song of the North Flow lifted the chin of an old man and said, "I've heard that the salt merchants of the Shattered Cauldron realm are very profitable, and I'm sure you've earned quite a bit as well. Look, my army has come from afar, and we need to redistribute our rations and weapons. This is a very large sum of money. Since the Qin army can't protect you, then we, the North Flow mercenary band, will protect them. However, you'll have to pay us soldiers enough tax. Men, find out how much this salt merchant needs to pay. Milord, you have to pay 10,000 Jianghu coins." "Alright, 10,000 gold grim coins it is." Song of the North Flow sneered, "Su Gu, did you hear that? Immediately have your family prepare 10,000 soldiers as a tax. Otherwise, your head will be hung on the city gates tomorrow morning." Su Gu's face was ashen. Sir, I'm just a salt merchant from a small city. How could I have so many Jianghu coins? I don't have it, get lost." Song of the North Flow sent Su Gu flying with a kick. His eyes were cold as he said, "I don't care if you have it or not. If you don't have 10,000 gold grim coins, prepare to be stabbed. Don't be afraid. I, Song of the Northern Liuhe, am also a descendant of a prestigious clan. I don't do such filthy things. Since I've come to Qi Luo Commandery, I plan to stay here for a long time. You're also my fellow countrymen. Zhang Qian, don't tremble. Explain yourself. How much did you donate as a soldier? How much do you want to pay for the soldiers?" Zhang Qian was a middle-aged man. His face was ashen. "Sir, I don't have any money either. Qi Luo Prefecture is a small city, and most of the local currency is silver grim coins. Most people have never seen gold grim coins in their entire lives. How can there be any profits? Cut the crap. I'm here to talk to you. Do you really have to force me? Song of the North Flow grabbed Zhang Qian's collar and looked at the timid girl behind him. Look, we're fellow countrymen. I don't want to fall out with you, do I? Oh, you have a daughter? Zhang Qian's face was ashen. Sir, you. I'll prepare 10,000 gold grim coins. Too late. I want 10,000 gold grim coins, and I want your daughter too. From now on, we're no longer just fellow countrymen. You're my father-in-law. Don't be afraid, stand still, ha ha ha. Song of the North Flow raised his blade and walked towards the third person. The crowd was already filled with the sound of crying. Stop crying. He was extremely impatient. Archers, if anyone cries again, just shoot them to death. Yes, sir. Before he even finished speaking, some of the archers who were as bloodthirsty as their lives couldn't help but attack. Immediately, a few miserable cries rang out from the crowd. Someone had already been shot through the heart and died. Fear surged through the crowd like a tide, and everyone began to flee. Go back. The saber-wielding mercenaries began to hack and slash, and in an instant, nearly 100 people lost their lives. The citizens of the prefecture had never seen such a scene of heads rolling on the ground before. All of them were pale with fright, trembling as they returned to the center of the plaza. All of you, stop. Song of the North Flow sneered. Don't start fighting and killing at the drop of a hat. I've long since taught you brats to win people over with virtue and virtue. Did you all turn a deaf ear to that? Continue, demand the soldier tax. Yes, sir. Mercenaries had crossed thousands of miles to the Shattered Cauldron realm in search of two things, money and women. Right now, Song of the North Flow wanted these two things as well. However, he boasted that he was from a prestigious family, so although he was much more cultured than the Blackstone Empire's regular army, he wasn't much better. When the girls who had been surrounded saw someone die, they couldn't help but weep softly. However, they were afraid of being killed, so they could only hold back their tears. Cry, 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 all you know is to cry. You've pissed me off. Song of the North Flow suddenly turned around and swept his blade across. Immediately, a red line appeared on the neck of one of the girls. Blood splattered everywhere, and she fell to her knees. She had never thought that her life would end like this. Accept your fate. Song of the North Flow looked coldly at the crowd and said, the Qin army will soon be defeated. They've suffered crushing defeats in both the north and the south. Do you still place your hopes on the Qin family? Stop dreaming. The Qin family can't even protect themselves. Do you think they'll protect you border commoners? Ha 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 ha, obediently become my people, and you might be able to live. The commoners wailed, and the girls trembled. A living person had turned into a corpse in the blink of an eye. Fresh blood splattered on the steps, creating a poignant red. Lumber merchant Wang Lei, 10,000 gold coins. Song of the North Flow's voice was extremely cold. Wang Lei was an old man. His entire body trembled as he said, Sir. I don't earn more than 100 gold coins a year from selling lumber. Where am I going to get 10,000? How you do it is up to you. I don't care. I didn't. The old man trembled. You didn't? Song of the North Flow raised his blade again. Then I'll send you to the afterlife. Tears streamed down the old man's face. His voice trembled as he said, Ancestors of the Qin Empire. Your Majesty, Your Highnesses, has the world really changed? Who will protect the commoners? Who will fulfill the Qin family's promise to the world? You still think the Qin family will save you? Die, you lowly old thing. The blade sliced through the air, glowing with a faint golden light. Everyone held their breaths. They were terrified. The mercenaries were going to kill again. However, just as the blade was about to cleave down on the old man's neck, a powerful aura suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It was a spatial ripple that could shatter the void. A white figure flew over. With a clang, sparks flew everywhere. A person appeared before Song of the North Flow and the old man, grabbing the blade with a single hand. The night breeze blew. His back was to the commoners in the square. His white cloak swayed gently, and the golden-purple flowers on it could be seen clearly. You. Enough. Enough. He spoke word by word as he stared at North Flow Song. His gaze was incomparably terrifying, causing North Flow Song, a deity of the 21st ecclesiastical layer, to tremble uncontrollably. His gaze was filled with towering rage, which transformed into a killing intent that radiated outwards. The commoners were also stunned. They recognized the insignia on the cloak. It was the insignia of the Qin family. He's here, everyone knew that their savior had arrived, but they didn't know who it was. Who do you think you are? Song of the North Flow laughed coldly. He suddenly flipped his wrist, and the blade began to spin rapidly, shaking off Lin Muyu's grasp. It moved extremely quickly, and the blade quickly turned into 3 consecutive slashes that landed on Lin Muyu's arm. However, Lin Muyu didn't move. Clang, 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 sparks flew everywhere. The blade was knocked away by a golden barrier. Song of the North Flow was dumbfounded. That was a divine wall. A cultivator with a divine wall was at least a Saint Martial King. This plane actually had a Saint Martial King? In that instant, the confidence in his heart was on the verge of collapse. He hurriedly retreated and roared, "Attack together! Destroy him!" However, it was too late. The night sky suddenly turned deathly white, as if a layer of frost had spread across the ground. At the same time, a powerful domain descended from the sky, making it difficult for everyone to move. Even breathing became extremely difficult. Lin Muyu knew how powerful Song of the North Flow was, so she decided to end this with a single move. All phenomena of heaven and earth, heed my call. A golden elephant will appear beneath Lin Muyu's feet. Elephant Whiteside. Boom! The golden elephant will swept past, directly tearing Song of the North Flow's body into a pile of flesh and blood. At the same time, Elephant Whiteside's domain power was fully activated. The invisible elephant art was activated, and all the mercenaries within range of the domain screamed as their bodies exploded and died. The pressure of the domain was enough to kill them. The other mercenaries all paled when they saw that the situation was bad. They all abandoned their weapons and fled. This young man was no longer a general of the Qin family. He was practically a god of death. In the blink of an eye, all the mercenaries had fled. Lin Muyu looked at the corpses of the commoners on the ground and knew that she had come too late. "Milord, you are. The house builder asked with a trembling voice. "I am Lin Muyu." Heavens! The house builder knelt down. "Greetings, King Qin. King Qin has personally come to save us." The commoners and the girls beside Lin Muyu all knelt down as well. Seeing everyone like this, Lin Muyu felt indescribably uncomfortable. She said, "All of you, rise. Leave the coastal cities and go to Winter Frost City. The army there is enough to protect you." The commoners all stood up and looked at the legendary King Qin. No one would have thought that the King Qin would be so amiable and approachable. However, the crowd began to cry. Those who had lost their loved ones also began to cry. Lin Muyu had the sovereign status. His EC was filled with the sorrow and blessings of the people. He could feel everything. What was a god? It was a gift of power and also a responsibility. Looking at the crowd, Lin Muyu slowly took a step back and knelt on one knee. She gave everyone a military salute and said in a low voice, "The Qin family is sorry for making you all suffer. However, I promise that as long as I am alive, I will definitely recover the lost land and return peace to the people of the empire. I will let the people of the empire live with dignity." As the sovereign of the Shattered Cauldron realm, King Qin was actually kneeling to her. How could anyone not be moved? The commoners all knelt down, and their sorrowful cries became one. Chapter 872. A chilly breeze spread through the forest. Tens of thousands of citizens of Qi Luo Prefecture, led by a commandant, left the city with their families and headed in the direction of Winter Frost City. Qi Luo Prefecture could no longer be lived in. This small coastal city would soon be affected by the flames of war and would be repeatedly harassed by pirates. Staying here would only mean waiting for death. Sobbing sounds could be heard everywhere. How sorrowful it was to leave one's home. Everyone knew that leaving one's home was especially miserable. Who would leave their home unless they had no other choice? In the forest several kilometers away, the clamorous sound of horse hooves could be heard. It was the escapees of the North Stream mercenary group. Approximately 2,000 cavalrymen and 500 infantrymen had left Qi Luo Prefecture in a hurry. Their leader, Song of the North, had been killed by an even stronger expert. This was like a nightmare that lingered in everyone's hearts. At this moment, these mercenaries didn't even have the time to carry the wealth and women they had plundered. They had already left the spoils of war city in a hurry. "Vice Captain, are we really going to leave just like this?" A man with 2 scars on his face gripped his saber unwillingly and said, "That person is only one person. Why should we be afraid of him? Everyone, let's attack together. I don't believe that we can't kill him. Vice Captain, even you, are an expert with the cultivation of a Saint Martial Venerable. Why are you afraid of him?" The Vice Captain was a cold-looking young man. As he spurred his horse forward, he licked his lips and said, "That person isn't as simple as you think. Let's just forget about it. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Sooner or later, we'll get even with him. When that time comes, I'll cut him into 1,000 pieces." The wind swirled and howled like a ghost. The galloping crowd was immediately startled. The cavalrymen at the front all stopped their horses in unison. Lightning flashed in the sky and a figure wearing a white robe appeared. It was Lin Muyu. "You." The vice captain's face was filled with shock and he said, "Are you trying to kill us all?" Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu's handsome face appeared extremely clear and bright. He raised his hand and slowly pulled out the Ice Origin sword. His eyes were cold as he spoke clearly, "You've killed so many people in Qi Luo Prefecture. Do you still want to leave Qi Luo Prefecture alive? You alone want to kill thousands of us?" The deputy guild leader sneered. "You are too arrogant. Brothers, let's go. Archers, kill this idiot for me. Use the demon heart arrow." He. One by one, the archers quickly reloaded their arrows with the demon heart arrows. However, they did not know that although the demon heart arrows were the natural enemy of godly state experts, they were nothing to gods who had awakened their god walls. If they could not even penetrate the god walls, they would not be able to seize god power. Lin Muyu looked at the horses they were riding and couldn't help but laugh, a bunch of motley crew, but their horses are not bad. Nonsense. The deputy team leader sneered and said, "We spent a lot of money and effort to buy these warhorses from the plains of the Thunder Flame sect. Prepare to die. This time, no one will be sneak attacked by you. Is that so? Release the arrows." The arm strength of the Northern Stream mercenary group's mercenaries was quite outstanding. One arrow after another pierced through the air, and even Lin Muyu couldn't help but be secretly shocked. She had seen the strength of the Pishio mercenaries, and in terms of combat power, this group of Northern Stream mercenaries was clearly a notch above them. It was no wonder that they dared to land ahead of the Blackstone Empire mercenary group and plunder the cities of Shattered Cauldron Realm. Wang! The golden wall of the gourd pierced through the air and blocked all the arrows. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu took a deep breath, raised her sword, and turned into a bolt of lightning as she pounced at the deputy team leader. She roared, "Die!" The light intensified, and the starlight became resplendent. It was initial starlight. Furthermore, after cultivating the formless elephant art, Lin Muyu's attack aura became even sharper and bitingly cold. The moment she slashed out with her sword, the deputy team leader couldn't even move on his horse and had no way to dodge. The surrounding power of heaven and earth had already been completely controlled, and he couldn't even urge his horse to retreat. He could only block the attack head-on. When he raised his sword, he felt that something was wrong. Sure enough, the Ice Origin sword was bitingly cold, and with a clang, it broke the deputy team leader's sword. The sword light flashed, and a head flew into the air. With just one initial starlight strike, a sacred heaven realm expert had already been beheaded. Heavens, the deputy team leader is dead. Deputy team leader. We will help you take care of your 12 concubines. The group of mercenaries was in chaos, and the archers forgot to continue shooting. They now knew that the strength of this sneak attacker was worlds apart from theirs. It wasn't something that could be changed by a few thousand people. Moreover, even the most powerful sacred martial supreme level deputy team leader had been beheaded. How could the others have the ability to resist? The deputy team leader is dead. Everyone, disperse and run. Everyone suddenly scattered. However, Lin Muyu stood majestically in the air. She suddenly stomped on the void with one foot, and with a bang, the ground turned deathly white. A formless and tyrannical domain aura spread out, making it impossible for the escaping people to move. Moreover, it was as if Lin Muyu's stomp had stirred up a storm, and the white ground was filled with whirling wind blades. If one escaped, they would definitely die or be injured. No one is allowed to leave. Lin Muyu was in the air, and she shouted in a low voice, "All of you, dismount." The group of mercenaries was dumbfounded. They all dismounted from their warhorses and knelt on the ground. The mercenaries in front of them all begged for mercy. "Milady, please spare us. All the evil was done by Song of the North Lioha. We were just trying to make a living. I know. I didn't plan to kill all of you." Lin Muyu raised her palm lightly, and wisps of supreme godly power rose up. She said with an imposing aura, "Those who stepped into the Shattered Cauldron Realm and killed people from the Shattered Cauldron Realm, all of you, step forward." Everyone was stunned, and they all looked at each other. Lin Muyu couldn't help but fly into a rage. She said, "I've long awakened the power of a godly strategy, and I can see through people's minds. If you think you can deceive me, then go ahead and try. But if I see through you, the consequences will be eternal damnation. I can even destroy your soul." In this day and age, it was impossible not to deceive. In any case, the cultivation of the mercenaries in front of her was very low, and they couldn't see that Lin Muyu was only at the 30th celestial layer. Even if she told them that she had awakened the power of a godly strategy, they would still believe her. As expected, nearly 200 people walked out of the crowd one after another. Their faces were filled with shock, but they didn't dare to go against Lin Muyu's orders. If they did, they would probably suffer even worse consequences. "Who did you kill?" Lin Muyu asked indifferently. A burly man carrying a battle axe said carelessly, "Milord, we didn't kill any soldiers. We only killed some worthless hunters and fishermen." "Why did you say they were worthless?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. The burly man was a smart man. He said, "Milord, from your attire, you should be one of the commanders of the Shattered Cauldron Realm's Qin army. Although I'm not very familiar with the structure of the Qin army, I know that a commander must have great foresight. A hunter and a fisherman can only bring 3 to 5 silver coins in taxes to the Qin Empire every year, but it's different for the soldiers. The training, equipment, and supplies of each soldier cost a lot of money. So, we only killed some worthless commoners. Please forgive us, milord. As long as milord doesn't hold grudges against us, I'm willing to surrender to the Qin Empire. Unfortunately, he felt the wrong pulse. He didn't know what kind of person Lin Muyu was. You only killed commoners, right? Lin Muyu asked. Nearly 200 mercenaries nodded in unison. Yes, milord, please forgive us. Lin Muyu smiled. His handsome smile looked like the smile of a devil in the eyes of the others. He slowly raised his palm and said, "If you killed soldiers on the battlefield, I could still respect your dignity as soldiers. But you killed commoners. Just based on this, you are not qualified to be soldiers of the Qin Empire. All of you, go to hell." With a wave of his sword, countless starlight whizzed out. No one expected that Lin Muyu would directly end these executioners with a tyrannical 7 glorious stars transformation. Boom, 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 countless amounts of astral energy fell to the ground, causing dust to fly everywhere. The hundreds of mercenaries within the range of the astral energy were howling in pain. The astral energy penetrated through their bodies, evaporating their flesh and blood. Even their armors were completely melted. In the blink of an eye, not a single one of the nearly 200 mercenaries was left alive. What was left was a huge pit filled with blood and broken bones. Oh my God, the remaining group of mercenaries were dumbfounded. How was this the power of a god? It was simply the power of a devil. 7 glorious stars transformation was the unique skill of the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Thinking about what kind of person the 7 luminaries demon emperor was, he was a wanton and unrestrained demon. How could he care about the ethics of the world? He was born to kill. The 7 glorious stars transformation that he created was naturally tyrannical and filled with the aura of an expert. Moreover, if these 200 people didn't kill commoners indiscriminately, perhaps Lin Muyu wouldn't have used this skill. The divine power in his body circulated. Lin Muyu slowly sheathed the Ice Origin sword. This time, he felt much better. After stepping into the Divine King realm, the astral transformation only consumed half of his divine power. Even the backlash wasn't as strong. This proved that his soul force and divine power had greatly increased. Perhaps, when he stepped into the Divine Emperor realm, he wouldn't have any backlash when using the astral transformation. Looking at the group of scared Northern Stream mercenaries, Lin Muyu's gaze was cold. She said, "Now, I'll give you a chance. I'll let you become captives of the Qin Empire. After transformation, you'll become soldiers of my Qin family. Are you willing? If you are willing, stay. If not, leave immediately. I won't make things difficult for you. Go back to the Blackstone Empire. This isn't a place where you should stay." Everyone was dumbfounded. Very soon, many people wanted to leave. Wait a moment. Leave the warhorses behind. We'll walk. Chapter 873. Lin Muyu's voice was still cold. What he cared about was the warhorses. Feng Jixing had taken away all the remaining horses in the Longdan army camp. As a result, there were less than 1,000 soldiers in the Longdan army camp. This was not good. They urgently needed a large number of warhorses to replenish the cavalry in the Longdan army camp. The 2,000 warhorses in front of him were plump and strong. They were like a gift from the heavens. Everyone left the warhorses and weapons behind and quickly walked into the forest. When he looked again, there were about 1,000 people who had not left. They guarded their horses and weapons and looked at Lin Muyu. One of the young soldiers said respectfully, "Madam, may I ask which commander of the Qin kingdom are you?" "I am Lin Muyu." "What? Emperor Qin?" He was shocked and then murmured, "So it is the legendary Emperor Qin." It is not embarrassing for me to be captured by Emperor Qin himself. Lin Muyu smiled and asked, "Tell me, why are you willing to stay as captives?" The young soldier said, "Your Highness, I was originally a hunter in the mountains in the Blackstone Empire. My father was killed by mercenaries and I was kidnapped to the mountains to be a bandit. After so many years, I have no one to rely on. Since your Highness is willing to take us in, it means that you think highly of us. Just for your Highness, I am willing to go through fire and water. Are all of you the same?" Lin Muyu raised his head and looked at the crowd. Nearly 1,000 people knelt down and said loudly, "We are all people who have no worries and are used to living on the edge of a knife. As long as your Highness is willing to take us in, we will go through fire and water without hesitation." "Good." Lin Muyu smiled, "All of you, get on the horses and follow me back to the Luo River estuary camp. But you are not soldiers of the Qin family yet. You have to go through training and assessment before you are qualified to be called soldiers. From now on, you have to put away the hostility and arrogance you had when you were mercenaries. Learn to restrain yourself and take responsibility. That is how real soldiers are. Do you understand?" "Yes." Satisfied, I rode on the vice leader's mount. Even after killing the vice leader, Lin Muyu didn't bear to damage this horse. She had really put a lot of thought into this. Under the moonlight, almost everyone in the group was riding a horse, leading another horse as they quickly dashed out of the forest. With just the strength of one person, they had captured 1,000 surrendered soldiers and 2,000 war horses. Lin Muyu's heart was filled with joy. The harvest from this trip to Chi Luo County was too great, it was beyond her imagination. When she returned to the camp, she could use these 2,000 war horses as the base, in addition to the war horses sent from Winter Frost City and Heaven's Pivot Province. With a little reorganization, she could at least form nearly 10,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp. With a little training, they could restore their peak combat strength. As for the 20,000 cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp taken away by Feng Jixing, forget it. Just treat it as a gift. Judging from the situation, he didn't intend to exchange it. After all, he was Feng Jixing. However, Lin Muyu also knew that it was really too difficult for Yunzhong Pass to resist the 100,000 Long Ji army camp, 100,000 wolf soldiers, and nearly 200,000 troops. At this time, Feng Jixing needed elite soldiers more than ever. If he didn't give him full support, the wolf soldiers would march straight in from the north. They would first attack Tongtian Province, and then Cangnan Province. Cangnan Province was known as the granary of the empire. There were thousands of miles of fertile fields, and the annual grain output accounted for nearly 40% of the empire. Cangnan Province must not be lost, otherwise, military grain would be a big problem. At the thought of this, the joy in Lin Muyu's heart was immediately diluted. It turned out that there were still so many troublesome matters, and there would always be so many problems waiting for him to solve. His heart was so tired. But he knew that it was all worth it. That girl would return sooner or later. When he thought of Qin Yin, his heart slightly warmed, and he really wanted to hug her again. All of this shouldn't be a fantasy, right? Opposite shore, celestial pole continent. The sound of war drums rumbled. 2 days ago, a group of people holding the flag of the Blackstone Empire's Gale Legion launched a sneak attack on 3 granaries of the Celestial Empire in the forest bordering the border. They set fire to them and burned them for half a day, causing the Celestial Empire to lose countless provisions. This action also caused a great deal of wrath within the Celestial Empire. No one had expected that the Blackstone Empire would actually take the initiative to launch an attack. To the east of the Boundary Steel, there was a vast plain that stretched for thousands of miles. The plain was covered with densely packed military camps. From the Boundary Steel of the Tianji Empire to the Boundary Steel of the Blackstone Empire, the Celestial Empire had deployed at least 1 million mighty soldiers here. In fact, rather than saying that they had deployed a defense, it would be better to say that they were ready to make a move and were accumulating power. The closest city to the border of the Celestial Empire was called Sweet Spring City. There was a temporary imperial residence built in the city called Sweet Spring Palace. At this time, all the royalty of the Celestial Empire were living in Sweet Spring Palace, waiting for an unprecedented war to break out. At night, the red-crowned crane lanterns lined up in a row in the Sweet Spring Palace, illuminating the long corridor. Maids carried delicacies and fruit trays in their hands as they slowly walked past. Tonight was a feast, because it happened to be the birthday of the first prince, Xianxia. Birthday, more formal, not a term used for a memorial service. In the main hall of the temporary imperial residence, the lights were ablaze, and the nobles were all gathered together. In addition, there was a group of high-ranking generals who had put down their weapons. The total military strength of the entire Celestial Empire was close to 1.5 million, and they were divided into 6 major corps and 21 minor corps. There were countless generals at the level of vassal kings, commanders, deputy commanders, and captaincy. Naturally, such a feast was almost overcrowded. Cough, cough, cough. In the host's seat, Emperor Qianhai was leaning on the arms of a maid, coughing violently. However, he still welcomed the officials with a smile, drinking cup after cup of wine and tasting the delicacies. Qianxian was sitting beside Qianhai, his face flushed, and he was overwhelmed by the congratulations of the officials. As for Qianyu, he was the only one who came with a sword. There was a slight smile on his face, but it seemed very forced. At this time, an official with a protruding mouth and cheeks like a monkey walked forward and bowed to Qianxian. He smiled and said, "Your Highness, this subordinate is the governor of Eastern Sun City, Lu Hui. My aides have traveled the world and found an agile girl in the mountains. Her name is Su Ling. She is slender and graceful, and can sing and dance well. She is specially presented to your Highness." "Oh? Bring her here." Qianxian smiled. "Yes." Behind Lu Hui, a young girl slowly walked forward. She was indeed a peerless beauty. Her body was slim, and her face was beautiful. After she bowed, her voice was like the sound of nature. "This little girl, Su Ling, greets your Highness, greets your Highness." Qianhai's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but smile. The beauty presented by Governor Lu is indeed extraordinary. Lu Hui was flattered. "Your Highness, you praise me too much. Today is the birthday of your Highness, and as a subject, this is only my duty." "Ha ha ha," Qianhai laughed and said, "Come, bestow 10 bolts of brocade and 1,000 taels of gold to Lady Lu Hui." "Thank you, your Highness." Lu Hui hurriedly knelt down, his face full of joy. Qianxian, on the other hand, impatiently waved his hand. "Su Ling, beauty, come to me." In the blink of an eye, the girl was already sitting in Qianxian's arms. This crown prince didn't care about the occasion at all. Perhaps, the entire Celestial Empire didn't care about the occasion at all. Seeing Qianxian holding a beauty and reciting poems, Qianyu's anger became even more intense. "Your Highness, please calm down." Behind him, Liaoyang said in a low voice. "Sigh." Qianyu sighed, his face full of anger. "The enemy is right in front of us, and instead of maintaining discipline in the barracks, we are here at Xiaoyao's place." How preposterous! Liaoyang and the other advisors of the second prince were silent, not knowing what to say. This scene was the norm in the Celestial Empire. Emperor Qianhai and Crown Prince Qianxian had always been indifferent to court affairs, let alone military affairs. In front of the emperor's steps, the flattering ministers presented their birthday gifts, and the smile on Qianxian's face grew even wider. Finally, Qianyu couldn't stand it anymore and stood up with his hand on the hilt of his sword. "My son, Qianyu, what's wrong?" Emperor Qianhai was the first to notice his son's uneasiness. Qianyu stepped forward and cupped his hands. "Father, I have something to say." But his voice was almost completely drowned out by the voices of the musicians and singers behind him. Instantly, Chen Yu was filled with anger. He turned around and bellowed, "Stop! Musicians and singers, get out of here!" His voice contained divine power, and it almost shook the entire hall of Oasis Palace. Chen Hai frowned. "My son, Chen Yu, what's going on?" "Father, I have something to say." "Speak." Chen Yu put his hand on the hilt of his sword and said, "The war at Shattered Cauldron Realm has reached a stalemate. The Tianji Empire's Long Ji Corps, Flowing Ji Corps, and Tianji Dragon Riders have been fighting continuously on the Qin Empire's land. It is said that they suffered their first setback at the Luo River estuary and lost many soldiers. Within their country, only Zhangcheng commands the Lanji Corps and the Yanji Corps, a total of 500,000 soldiers. They are stationed at many passes on the border, and their military forces are very scattered. It can be said that the Tianji Empire is somewhat tired of dealing with the current war." "Why are you talking about war again?" Chen Hai frowned. "Didn't we agree to only talk about romance today?" "But father..." Chen Yu didn't give in and said, "The war is like a raging fire, and there is no room for slacking. The opportunity now is fleeting, and if we keep waiting, we will only miss a good opportunity." Chen Qian couldn't help but laugh. "Second brother, you are exaggerating again. Who is Zhangcheng?" "He is a famous general of the Saint Martial God level. When Zhangcheng is fighting, we don't even know where he is. Moreover, Zhangcheng now has 500,000 soldiers under his command. Who can be sure that they can win against him?" Chen Yu was speechless. Just like what Chen Qian said, Zhangcheng was a famous general of the present age. He lived for 67 years, and started fighting at the age of 17. He had been fighting for a whole 50 years, and he had 84 heavenly caves cultivation. Who could say that they could win against him? At this moment, another official stood up and said, "Your Majesty, I think that what the second prince said is reasonable. The situation in the celestial pole continent is changing rapidly. We can't keep waiting, or we will become passive. By then, I'm afraid it will be too late for regrets." "Dongqing Wang, do you also agree with what Chen Yu said?" Chen Hai asked. "Yes, Your Majesty." Dongqing Wang was one of the vassal kings, and he had a lot of troops under his command. His support undoubtedly gave Chen Yu a big backing. Chen Yu looked at Dongqing Wang from afar, and his eyes were filled with gratitude. Dongqing Wang smiled slightly and nodded to show his respect. At this moment, Chen Hai stood up and was supported by two maids on either side of him, preventing him from collapsing. After coughing violently a few times, he said, "Since we are going to fight, then you, tell me, how should we fight?" Chapter 874. Chen Yu didn't express his opinion directly. He just said respectfully, "I'm just a greenhorn. I don't know much about strategies. Let's listen to the opinions of the generals and lords first." "All right, lords. Tell me, how should the Celestial Empire fight this war?" Chen Hai said. Everyone was solemn. A trace of jealousy flashed through Crown Prince Chen Qian's eyes. Today was his birthday, but Chen Yu actually wanted to discuss this in public. This was simply a slap in the face. He didn't give him any face at all. At this moment, another old general stood up and said, "Your Majesty, the fire element province of the Tianji Empire is located in a remote area. It's almost 2,000 miles away from Tianji City. The mountains are high and the roads are long. My informants have already found out that Zhangcheng has 200,000 soldiers in the East Peace Province, but only 100,000 soldiers in the Fire Element Province. If we attack immediately, we can reach the capital of the Fire Element Province in 1 day and 1 night. The Fire Element Province is rich in ironware. More than half of the iron ore of the Tianji Empire comes from the Fire Element Province. As long as we take the Fire Element Province first, the people of the Tianji Empire can only fight with our soldiers with fire sticks. The officials laughed. Chen Hai also couldn't help but laugh and said, Duke Tianyu's words are reasonable. Do you have any other opinions? As soon as he finished speaking, another old civil official stood up and said in a trembling voice, Your Majesty, I have a different opinion. As we all know, the Tianji Empire doesn't have many troops left behind. Among them, Zhang Cheng's troops are the most elite. Duke Tianyu avoiding the brunt of the attack and attacking the fire element province is indeed a brilliant plan, but I think that instead of avoiding the brunt of the attack, it's better to gather the warriors of the three armies of the Tianji Empire and attack East Com City fiercely. When East Com City is breached, Zhang Cheng, the old dog, will die. Our army first breaks through East Com Province, and then we can directly attack Tianji City and capture Baiming Yuan, the dog emperor. Once Tianji City is breached, everything in the Tianji Empire will be over. Duke Tianyu was so angry that his beard flew up. He said, Marquis Nanyang is a traitor. How dare you harm my lord? The Marquis of Nanyang was also angry. Duke Tianyu, how can you be so rude? Duke Tianyu said, although our army is elite, our combat power is far from that of the Yanji Corps. Zhang Cheng is even more cunning. You said that we should directly attack East Com City, but if we can't take it down after a long time and the three armies are exhausted, then Zhang Cheng will mobilize the army of the Fire Element Province to attack us from the flank. Wouldn't all our efforts be in vain? You framed our army like this. If you aren't a traitor, then what are you? Lord Nanyang was so angry that his face turned pale. Tianyu Duke, you're slandering me. You old B*****. You old dog, don't talk nonsense. Dongqing Wang laughed so hard that his tears were about to fall down. Chen Yu also shook his head helplessly. Although the Celestial Empire was full of talented people, the real authority lay in the hands of these useless old fogies. After all, they were all ministers who assisted his father, Chen Hai. Many of them had once made great contributions to the empire, but they were all old now, and no longer fit to discuss matters in the imperial court. Chen Hai's scalp went numb. He coughed violently again and said, Don't quarrel. Why don't you say something? What do you think? Chen Yu bowed respectfully and said, Father, I think we should not discuss how to attack the Tianji Empire, but how to attack the Blackstone Empire. Chen Hai was stunned. Dongqing Wang was also stunned. Your Second Highness, why do you say that? We should attack the Blackstone Empire instead of the most threatening Tianji Empire. What's the meaning of this? Chen Yu smiled and said, Uncle, the Tianji Empire still has Zhang Cheng and 500,000 soldiers. Even if we attack them, it will take at least half a year to finish the war. But the Blackstone Empire is different. Their Marshal Bailey Qin personally led the army to the Shattered Cauldron World, bringing with him the Pale Flame Corps and the Sea Breeze Corps. There are only 200,000 soldiers left in the country. As far as I know, the Blackstone Empire has been in a series of civil wars recently. Many mercenary corps have begun to plunder and invade various prefectures. At least half of the 200,000 soldiers in the Gale Corps have to annihilate the mercenary corps, and the other half have to guard the 13 passes on the border. There are only 8 or 9,000 soldiers at each pass. If we can't defeat such an opponent, then we can forget about unifying the Celestial Pole continent. Dongqing Wang frowned and said, Your Second Highness's strategy is indeed shrewd and ruthless. But, if we attack the Blackstone Empire, that old dog Zhang Cheng suddenly makes a long-distance raid and directly attacks our capital, Laohan City, what should we do? Don't worry, Zhang Cheng wouldn't dare. Chen Yu's eyes turned cold and he said, Maybe soon, even Zhang Cheng will have to go to the Shattered Cauldron World. Why? Chen Hai was also surprised. Why are you so sure? Chen Yu said, Because Lin Muyu of the Shattered Cauldron World won't be defeated so easily. With just Baiming Huan and 2 armies, I'm afraid Lin Muyu won't be able to throw away his armor. Chen Qian smiled and said, "Second brother, don't brag so much that you'll lose your teeth. Lin Muyu is thousands of miles away on the other side." "How can you be so sure that Lin Muyu won't be defeated?" "Because I've seen him, and I know his sharp edge. This kind of person won't be defeated so easily." "What? When did you see him?" Chen Hai was shocked. Chen Yu smiled and said, "Father, do you still remember that a few months ago, Tianji sect Si Kong Yao and Tianji dragon rider Lin Tong Tian went to Lao Han City?" Yes, I still remember. The young man following Si Kong Yao is Lin Muyu." "What?" Chen Hai was shocked. "The Qin king of the Shattered Cauldron world came to Lao Han City. How could I not know? I didn't know his identity at first. It was only after Lin Muyu and the others left that I realized. Father, Lin Muyu's strength, strategy, and courage are far above me. How can such a person be defeated so easily when he has the support of the entire Shattered Cauldron world? Moreover, Lin Muyu has many capable people around him. Feng Jixing, Chu Chu, Tang Xiaoxi, Xiang Yu, and the others are all geniuses. The Tianji Empire wants to destroy the Shattered Cauldron world with only 2 armies. That's a fool's dream. Lin Muyu is so scary." Chen Hai almost couldn't sit still. He said, "If we attack the Blackstone Empire now, when will we attack the Tianji Empire?" Chen Yu smiled and said, "Don't worry, father. Let the Tianji Empire and Lin Muyu fight. The fiercer they fight, the better. If Zhang Cheng is really sent to the Shattered Cauldron world, then the outcome is set. The person who will unify the entire plane in the future will definitely be you, father. Then, there will only be one emperor in this world, and that is you, father." Hearing this, Chen Hai beamed with joy. Good, well said. As expected of my son, Chen Hai." Chen Yu cupped his hands and bowed. "Father, I request for military authority. Let me lead the army to attack the Blackstone Empire." "All right. Someone, bring me the 3-army tiger tally." The servant respectfully walked forward with the box. After opening the box, there were a total of 6 tiger talismans. Chen Hai said, "These 12 tiger talismans are used to mobilize the troops of the 6 armies. The commanders of each army will hold half of one. The other 6 are with me. Only when 2 tiger talismans are with you can you mobilize the troops. This time, the expedition." "Wait a moment, father." Chen Qian suddenly stood up. "Father, how can you be so careless with the military affairs of the country? Second brother is eager to gain merit, but in the end, he is still too young. Moreover, father is already drunk today. Even if you want to bestow the tiger talismans, why don't you wait until tomorrow morning? When father sobers up, then bestow the tiger talismans to second brother. What do you think?" Chen Hai was startled. Then, he nodded. "Fine. Tomorrow it is. Wait one more day." "Yes, father." Chen Yu respectfully bowed. After lowering his head, his face was filled with anger. Late at night, Sweet Spring Palace. After dismissing the attendants, only Chen Hai and Chen Qian remained. "Qian, why did you stop me?" Chen Hai asked. Chen Qian said, "Imperial father, second brother is an ambitious person. Not to mention he's still so young. Even though he's rendered a great deal of meritorious military service in the past, he's still too impatient. Today it would seem like second brother yearns for power too much. If Imperial Father really passes the military authority to him, would he still be satisfied with the authority before him after second brother conquers the cities of the Darkstone Empire? Can Father be sure that second brother doesn't want to rule the world and stand above all?" This, Chen Hai frowned. "He is your little brother, our son." Chen Qian smiled. This son knows that Imperial Father is a sage, but the temptation of power is too great. I doubt if second brother can resist it. In my opinion, it is better not to give second brother too much military power for the time being. This will cause him to lose himself. Once he really sinks into the abyss of power, what if he leads the army to turn against us? What can Imperial Father do to stop him? Father can also see that the majority of the generals in the hall are on second brother's side. That can't be, right? Chen Hai muttered. You can't possibly kill his father and usurp the throne? A man's heart is hard to predict, father. Even if he is your son, once he achieves great merits, it is hard to guarantee that he won't develop evil thoughts. I ask father to reconsider. This is all this son has to say. I know. Chen Hai slowly sat down. Waving his hand, he said, Go, I will think about it. Yes. The next day, Chen Hai promoted Chen Yu to the position of Vanguard General, leading 5,000 troops to attack the Blackstone Empire. In fact, Chen Yu didn't even receive a single tiger tally. When he received the Imperial Edict, he was so angry that his entire body trembled. He slammed the Imperial Edict on the table and circulated his godly energy, instantly tearing the Imperial Edict and the table to pieces. You want us to attack the Blackstone Empire with only 5,000 men? What difference is there from sending us to our deaths? Liao Yang was enraged. I will go find His Majesty and ask for clarification. Don't go. Chen Yu sat there dejectedly. His expression was stern. There must be someone gossiping in front of father. Don't let me find out who it is. Since father wants me to attack the Blackstone Empire, then 5,000 men it is. I will prove to father that 5,000 men can also attack cities and gain merits. Second Prince, are you serious? What do you think? Chen Yu took a deep breath and said, Liao Yang, go to the Celestial Extremity sect immediately and send my regards to the sect master. Take my letter and ask for reinforcements. I'll send as many as the sect master can give. Otherwise, I'll be courting death if I attack the city with my official army alone. Yes, Your Highness. Chapter 875. Amidst the rumbling sounds of war drums, the South once again raised their weapons. Empire Calendar, Year 7742, May 19, the Blackstone Empire's 200,000 elite soldiers and 50,000 surrendered soldiers, totaling 250,000, attacked Su Jiantao's dragon-slaying pass. Outside the dragon-slaying pass, banners covered the sky. Countless Blackstone Empire's troops were already wildly preparing for battle. Each and every one of them wore a fierce expression, their eyes filled with greed as they stared at the pass that stood between two mountain ranges. Dragon-slaying pass. During the era of their ancestors, a dragon descended from the heavens and devoured the common people. Afterwards, it was killed by a vassal king who guarded Hundred Ridge City with a single slash of his sword. As a result, the fortress that was built afterwards was called Dragon-slaying Pass. Even the Dragon-slaying Pass's conference hall had the head of that giant dragon hanging in front of it, even though it was only a low-level pseudo-dragon. They're finally here. On top of the pass, a group of Qin family generals stood in great numbers. Among them, the one wearing commander's armor was precisely Su Jiantao. His hand was resting on the hilt of his sword, trembling slightly. His pair of tiger-like eyes looked at the enemy army in the distance, only to see the cruel and ruthless Blackstone Empire troops uniformly raising 3-meter-long spears. Every spear was pierced with a head, and those heads belonged to the imperial soldiers who had followed Yao Yuan and died in battle in Linghan City. Apart from that, there were also many heads of the common people. At a glance, there were at least 10,000 heads. Su Jiantao's hand trembled even more violently, his eyes surging with deep hatred. He said, "Bastards, these bastards. The bandits of the Blackstone Empire aren't human, they're a group of uncivilized beasts." Next to him, the deputy general said, "Marquis, the Blackstone Empire's bandit army has arrived. It seems that they didn't suffer as many losses as we thought. Their main force is still around 200,000, and they've even enslaved the Sky Province's prefectures, turning them into their vanguard army. How should we fight this battle? We can't possibly use our magicite cannons to greet our former comrades, can we? Let's act according to the circumstances. Besides, we are running low on cannonballs. Most of the cannonballs from Lanyan City and Winter Frost City have been sent to the Luo River Estuary, Cloud Middle Pass, and Seven Seas City. We have less than 10% left. I'm afraid that we will run out of cannonballs after a few rounds of bombardment. If we don't use magicite cannons, how will we stop the Blackstone Empire? Use bows, arrow boxes, and ballistae." Su Jiantao clenched his fists, his eyes filled with determination. "Use everything that can be used. Behind us are more than 10 prefectures and millions of people in the Lingnan province. We must not let the beasts of the Blackstone Empire cross over. Otherwise, you and I will be the sinners of the Qin Empire." "But," the deputy general's voice trembled as he said, "we only have 50,000 soldiers, and most of them are new recruits with less than a month of training. How can we resist 200,000 elites? Don't shake the morale of the army." Su Jiantao looked coldly at the deputy general and said, "It doesn't matter if you and I die here, but we can't lose the face of His Highness' reign, and we can't lose the people of the Longdan army camp. In the end, it's the Longdan army camp that guards the dragon-slaying pass. It's the strongest army of the Qin Empire. Don't talk about those cowards anymore. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp never fear war or death." "But Marquis, stop talking. Go count the number of arrows and conscript the civilians in the pass. Let all the workers come into the city and cut down the birch forest in the back of the mountain to help us make arrows. In addition, take out the flag of the Longdan army camp and hang it up. I want our brothers to know that they are members of the Longdan army camp. Even if they die in battle, they will go to hell with me as soldiers of the Longdan army camp." "Yes, Marquis." The sounds of the war drums became more and more intense, and the army outside the city was ready to make a move. However, there was still no movement until the afternoon. When the soldiers on the walls of the city were about to become impatient from waiting, another drumming rhythm finally sounded out. The battle formation of the Darkstone Empire made way, and a group of soldiers dressed in khaki clothes appeared behind them. They were the surrendered soldiers of the Qin army. "They're here," a captaincy gnashed his teeth and said, "Do they want the surrendered soldiers to die in the front? The Qin people didn't kill the Qin people, so they are forcing us to submit. Despicable Bailey Qin." Su Jiantao took a deep breath and said, "Surrendered soldiers. Don't shoot first." "Yes." The deputy general was stunned and said, We are not going to defend the city?" "No, defend." Su Jiantao squinted his eyes and said, "Look carefully, do you know anyone among the surrendered soldiers?" "Yes." A 10-man squad leader said loudly, "Marquis, the black-faced man at the front is called Zhang Shaoxi. He is from the same hometown as me. Last year, he was sent to Linghan City to guard the city, but he was captured. Marquis, I know a few people. That one, and that one. They used to be part of the garrison of Bailing City. Later on, they were transferred to join the navy." Shouts resounded out successively, and it allowed Su Jiantao to discern some subtle information. Indeed, the members of the Darkstone Empire were ruthless and ferocious, and they would absolutely not allow their own people to give their lives away first. So they'd organized these 50,000 surrendered soldiers to attack the city first. These surrendered soldiers utterly didn't possess any decent weapons in their possession, and they were either rusty halberds or broken iron swords. Moreover, the clothes they wore were temporarily pieced together from the clothes of commoners, and they didn't seem like a real army at all. "Pass down the order, no one is allowed to shoot these surrendered soldiers." Su Jiantao smiled and said, I should be thanking Bailey Qin for giving me 50,000 reserve soldiers. Men, prepare to pass down the order. When these surrendered soldiers get close to the city, immediately open the gates and let them in. Yes. Please don't, Marquis. The Deputy General said angrily, is Marquis trying to put Zhan Long in a difficult situation? Once we open the gates, the surrendered soldiers will rush in and it'll be hard to close the gates. The Tiger Leopard cavalry of the Blackstone Empire will charge into the city. How are we going to defend against them? Don't worry, they won't charge in. Su Jiantao said confidently. Why should we? Su Jiantao smiled. Deputy General Wang, do you remember when I ordered you to lead the troops out of the city 3 days ago and dig a hole a few miles away from the city? Then fill it up and keep the soil fresh. I know, but what does that have to do with all of this? The Deputy General was stunned. Of course it has to do with it. We don't have any extra magic crystal cannons to set up an underground cannon array. That's why I ordered you to dig over 10,000 holes outside of the city as a diversion. Bailey Qin will definitely be able to see these holes, but he doesn't know what I'm thinking. As the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. They don't know if there really is a cannon array outside of Zhanlong Pass, so I'm sure that Bailey Qin won't dare to send an army to follow the surrendered soldiers into the city. Be at ease and boldly open the gates. The Deputy General was suddenly enlightened, his face full of pleasant surprise. The Marquis really is a godly strategist. No wonder, no wonder. I understand, I'll do it right away. On the city walls, orders to not shoot could be heard everywhere. Sure enough, not a single one of the tens of thousands of soldiers guarding Zhanlong Pass shot an arrow. When the surrendered soldiers came trembling with fear and weapons in their hands, Su Jiantao jumped onto the battlements and flashed his military rank, shouting in a low voice, I am the Marquis of Cangnan, Su Jiantao. I know that you have been forced to surrender. Today, I'll give you a chance to pledge your loyalty to the Empire. All of you, enter the city. Don't push and trample, there will naturally be divine soldiers that will cover your retreat. The surrendered soldiers below the city walls were dumbfounded. Creak, creak, the iron chains twisted, and the city gates slowly opened. The great gates of Zhanlong Pass were opened just like that. The surrendered soldiers' eyes suddenly became clear, as if they could see the light of day again. The ups and downs of life came too quickly. Just a moment ago, they felt that they would die in humiliation under the blades of their own people. Now, they were actually forgiven so quickly. One by one, they hurriedly flew into the city. The 5 great city gates of Zhanlong Pass opened at the same time. The speed at which they entered the city was extremely fast, like a tide. All magic crystal cannons aim 1,000 meters away. Cover the retreat for our brothers in the Sky Province. Su Jiantao ordered loudly. The magic crystal cannons all aimed into the distance, and raised their heads. In the main army camp of the Blackstone Empire, Bailey Qin, Bailey Yen, Fu Yu, Han Shu and the others stood on a high platform, watching everything that was happening in the distance. However, they seemed powerless. They've switched on and received the surrendered soldiers. Bailey Yan's sword-like eyebrows were tightly locked together. Su Jiantao, that bastard. His actions are always unexpected. Why does he dare to switch on and off so boldly? Isn't he afraid that we'll take advantage of the situation and kill our way in? Even in his dreams, he wants us to kill our way in. Bailey Qin coldly said, there are tens of thousands of cannon pits outside the city. As long as our army kills our way in, he will be able to kill and injure tens of thousands of our empire's fierce warriors without suffering a single scratch. Humph, he really has wishful thinking. Ancestor, are we just going to watch these 50,000 surrendered soldiers go back like this? Bailey Yen was somewhat unwilling. Those who want to achieve great things must learn to be patient. These 50,000 surrendered soldiers are just a bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs. They are not worth mentioning at all. So what if we give them to Su Jiantao? Let's wait a little longer. Once the sky turns dark, immediately dispatch elite soldiers with iron shovels. Under the protection of the shield soldiers, dig out their magic crystal cannons. Don't send too many people. Destroy them one by one, and leave Su Jiantao helpless. Yes, Marshal is wise. Fu Yu nodded. In the blink of an eye, night fell. Thousands of Blackstone Empire's elites rushed to the front of Zhanlong Pass, avoiding the shooting range of the archers. They began to wave their iron shovels and dig large pits. However, after digging one pit after another, and every pit was several meters deep, there was nothing. Immediately, everyone was at a loss. Naturally, this loss quickly aroused the anger of the Central Army's martial tent. Bastard! Bailey Qin shattered the table with a palm strike. With a pale face, he said, that bastard Su Jiantao actually dared to make fun of this marshal. Only by tearing his corpse into 10,000 pieces can I quench the hatred in my heart. Fu Yu raised his blade. Marshal, this general requests to be deployed. Let me attack Zhanlong Pass this very night. Alright, go. Yes. Chapter 876. Late at night, flames rose into the sky. Countless tiger leopard cavalry, dragon cavalry, beast cavalry, and heavy cavalry arrived at the city. As usual, Fu Yu still took on the heavy responsibility of being the vanguard. Just like when they landed on Dragon Island and broke through Ling Han City, it was always the Blue Flame Army that broke through the city first. This time, Fu Yu still wanted to keep the credit in his hands. Raise your shields, avoid the dragon flames, and protect the marquee. Although the dragon armor was hard, arrows made of white diamond could still penetrate it as long as the archer had enough strength. Looking at the Longdan army camp, an expert like Wei Chou could kill a dragon within 50 meters with one arrow. Although the other group of elite archers' arm strength and cultivation couldn't compare to Wei Chou's, they could still injure the dragon with a series of attacks. On the city wall, the shields were burning red and smoking. However, this round of attack from the dragon cavalry clearly didn't achieve the effect that the Blackstone Empire wanted. Originally, the dragon flames could melt steel and kill the soldiers behind the shields, but this time, it didn't. This was because these shields were all engraved. Although it was only a level 1 fire control seal that cost 100 blades, it was enough to save the lives of the soldiers. The city wall was in chaos. After avoiding the first round of attack from the dragon cavalry, the soldiers on the city wall immediately threw down arrows. Below the city wall, the densely packed Blue Flame Army screamed. However, if one of them died in battle, someone would immediately take his place, running towards the edge of the city wall with ladders and chariots. As long as they could set up the ladders, Dragon Slaying Pass would be in danger. Kacha. Su Jiantao jumped onto the city wall and slashed his long sword horizontally, cutting 2 tiger leopard cavalry in half. At the same time, he shouted, "It's done, fire." Vice Commander, yes, Marquis. Pass the order, fire. This small voice was nothing on the several kilometers long battlefront. At this time, it was very difficult for anyone to hear what they were saying. Below the city walls, Fu Yu held his saber and rode on his warhorse. He sniffed the air with all his might and said, "What is this smell? It is familiar. I don't know." The 2 deputy commanders shook their heads. At this moment, faint smoke began to rise from the ground within 200 meters of the city. Only then did Fu Yu realize that the ground in front of the city was filled with holes the size of a fist. Smoke was coming out of them, and he could even see wisps of flames erupting from them. It was as if a volcano was descending. What's going on? What's underground? Although Fu Yu was brave but not astute, he had developed a rather good sense of smell after leading troops for so many years. He had already sensed that the situation was far from good, but there were already tens of thousands of Blue Flame Army soldiers clashing with the other party. Could there be a trap underground? Asked the deputy commander. Impossible. Fu Yu quickly denied and said, during the day, the 50,000 surrendered soldiers passed through here. If there really was a trap, they should have fallen in immediately. That was their mission. There can't be a trap. But, at this moment, crackling sounds came from underground. It was the sound of burning wood. Fu Yu was even more confused. He sniffed the air with all his might and said, I know what that smell is. It's black beech oil. He seemed to have guessed something. On top of the city wall, Su Jiantao also revealed a smile and shouted, Men, use the Earth Heavenly Book. It's time to let them taste the taste of a roasted pig. On top of the city wall, the Kiliarchs hidden in the crowd drew their swords. These swords were basically embryonic heavenly books, and they glowed in various colors. The next moment, countless meteorites wrapped in flames fell from the sky and crashed into the ground in front of the city wall. This crash actually caused a few sections of the ground to cave in, and flames shot up into the sky. The ground had already been hollowed out. The reason why it remained in its original state was because the bottom was filled with wooden supports, and the bottom of the supports was filled with black beech oil. The oil fueled the fire and burned off the supports. After being smashed by the Earth Heavenly Book, a chasm that was nearly 5 kilometers long and nearly 200 meters wide appeared in front of them. It was a chasm that was filled with flames. Screams filled the air as countless Blue Flame Army's Tiger Leopard Cavalry, Beast Cavalry, and Heavy Cavalry fell into the fiery chasm. This was a chasm that was nearly 5 meters deep. Hiss, hiss, Fu Yu's warhorse let out a long neigh and fell into the trench of fire. Fu Yu only had time to carry the 2 deputy commanders in each hand and fly in the air. He was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Despicable and shameless Su Jiantao. Despicable and shameless. I will definitely tear you into pieces. On top of the city wall, Su Jiantao had already drawn his sword. Open the city gates. Cavalry, charge out and send them off. Su Jiantao's tactics were all deceitful. In terms of intelligence, he had his opponent completely in the palm of his hand. A large number of Tsangnan iron cavalry rushed out of the city and swept away the remaining Blue Flame soldiers at the corner of the city wall. Meanwhile, the main force of the Blue Flame Army 500 meters away from the city wall could only watch helplessly as the front line was slaughtered. Crack! Lightning flashed, and suddenly, a figure appeared on top of the city wall. It was Bailey Qin. Marquis, let's go. Almost at the same time, a guard behind Su Jiantao twisted the handle of his sword and activated the Heavenly Book. A beam of light shone down as he grabbed Su Jiantao's wrist. The 2 of them instantly disappeared. Buzz! Airflow reverberated. Bailey Qin's palm missed, but the dozens of soldiers behind him turned into a mist of blood. He was so angry that he decided to start a massacre on the city wall. Magic crystal cannons, calibrate at all costs. The deputy commander roared. On top of the city wall, 3 magic crystal cannons fired at the same time. Bailey Qin had just broken through the void and was unable to leave. As a result, the 3 magic crystal cannons immediately released waves of energy on the city wall, crushing the surrounding soldiers and the city wall into dust. However, Bailey Qin's body was surrounded by the thick energy of the god wall. With a furious roar, he poured the law of earth into the crowd. Countless stone awls pierced through the air, and dozens of soldiers died on the spot. Their bodies were completely pierced by the stone awls, and they died a terrible death. In the air, the dragon knights circled and poured down beams of god power. However, the Qin army did not retreat. The magic crystal cannons continuously released light in the air, mixed with white arrows and arrow boxes. They fought with their lives on the line. After nearly 10 minutes, Bailey Qin's god wall was forcefully destroyed by the magic crystal cannons, but he had already killed thousands of soldiers by himself. His god power was almost exhausted. He laughed coldly and stepped into the shattered void. The dragon knights in the air also circled and retreated. The flames of the Zhanlong Pass rose to the sky. If this was a victory for the Qin army, it was a Pyrrhic victory. In the forest far away, the two of them stood in the darkness, looking at the soaring flames in the distance as well as the silhouettes of the dragon knights reflected in the flames. Those giant dragons were like locusts wreaking havoc in the sky, leaving the human soldiers helpless. Su Jiantao felt like knives were being twisted in his heart. He clenched his fists and said, "I'm really useless. The only thing I can do is run, and run again and again." The guard said respectfully, "Marquis, the difference between us and the enemy is too great. This is the only way. His Highness, you sent me to protect you. If the enemy is strong, then retreat. If the enemy is weak, then attack. His Highness, you told you this himself." Su Jiantao nodded his head in a daze. "Let's go back. Bailey Qin has already left." "Yes." In this battle, Su Jiantao used a total of 15,000 barrels of black beech oil. He used up half of the black beech oil stored in the southern Ridge province. Finally, on the first day, he managed to resist the Blackstone Empire's challenge. At dawn the next day, the sky outside the city was still covered in smoke. However, those who fell into the trap were almost all dead. Inside the dragon-slaying pass, countless commoners were pushing boulders into the city to repair the city walls. While the magic crystal cannons had chased away Bailey Qin, they had also destroyed nearly a kilometer of the city wall. Su Jiantao didn't sleep the entire night. He sat on the city wall in a daze as he looked at the busy soldiers. He didn't know what he had done wrong, but in this battle, the corpses after corpses were enough to prove that he had failed. "Marquis, are you all right?" The deputy general, whose face was covered in dust, asked respectfully. "I'm fine. Have you calculated the losses?" "I've calculated it." The deputy general's voice was choked with sobs. "In this battle, more than 7,400 of our brothers died in battle, and more than 2,000 are injured. Most of our brothers died under Bailey Qin's hands. Once they are injured, it will be hard for them to survive. Marquis, don't say any more." Su Jiantao was filled with grievances and frustration. The Empire's casualty ratio should have been about 4:1, meaning that 4 people were injured, and 1 person died in battle. However, this time, it was almost the opposite. Bailey Qin, just how powerful was this God Emperor's cultivation? In the past, the Empire had fought against humans and demons, but this time, they were fighting against gods. The limit of human strength was simply unable to shake the power of a god. How about 50,000 surrendered soldiers? Arrange them in the rear army. Basically, there won't be any losses. The deputy general said, however, the rations of these 50,000 surrendered soldiers are a problem. In a single night, almost half of our rations have been consumed. Marquis, we need to mobilize rations from the prefectures in the rear. Otherwise, our rations will only last for 3 days. Understood. Pass down the order. Yes. Fortunately, the Blackstone Empire's losses were also quite severe. The Ashen Flame Army lost close to 20,000 men at the front. They needed to rest for 2 to 3 days before continuing to attack the city. This gave Su Jiantao some precious time to build the city walls. However, under the attacks of Bailey Qin and the god-level Dragon Knight, how could the city walls be built? This was the most painful problem for Su Jiantao. In the evening, the winged cavalry came to report. Reporting to Marquis, something bad has happened. Our rations transport team has been intercepted. What? Su Jiantao fell from his seat absent-mindedly. Holding onto the table, he asked with bloodshot eyes, "Who is it?" What exactly is going on? The person who robbed the rations calls himself Ding Shi. He led at least 10,000 troops and suddenly appeared between us and the prefectures in the rear, completely cutting off our rations. Ding Shi? Su Jiantao was stunned. What's going on? He hurriedly looked at the map and gritted his teeth. For an army to suddenly appear in this position, it can only be from the direction of Mingshan Province's St. Peak. It's people from Mingshan Province. Yes. Ding Shi also said that he hopes that Marquis will follow him to meet someone. This will only be beneficial to us and won't harm us. Meet who? I don't know. The deputy general frowned. Ding Shi is a fickle and despicable person. Marquis, you are the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies. You can't act rashly. I know what's important. Su Jiantao suddenly smiled and said, "Prepare the horse. I'm going." Chapter 877. In the starry night, a fast horse galloped on the official road in the forest. Regardless of the deputy general's objection, Su Jiantao only took 4 guards to meet Ding Shi. There was no other reason. Su Jiantao knew Ding Shi's character. He also knew that Ding Shi had saved the female empress Qin Yin and Lin Muyu in Xiang City. Moreover, Ding Shi never used weapons during his tenure as the marshal of the Yihe kingdom. It could be said that Ding Shi saved Qin Yin and Lin Muyu, which was equivalent to saving the entire Qin Empire. It was his kindness that changed the current situation of the history of the shattered tripod world. After galloping for hundreds of miles, a campfire appeared in the distance. A white tent was set up at the foot of the mountain. Under the light of the campfire, soldiers with spears could be seen faintly. Swish! An arrow fell from the sky and fell straight in front of Su Jiantao's horse, forcing him to stop. "Come, report your name." The captain who shot the arrow said loudly. "Su Jiantao is here to see General Ding Shi." "Oh. Marquis, come in." Several cavalrymen galloped forward and led the way for Su Jiantao. Su Jiantao's eyes were sharp. He rode slowly all the way, and his attention was completely attracted by this army. Most of the armor of this group of people was still the original armor of the Yihe kingdom. It could be imagined that they were Ding Shi's former subordinates. However, there were also some strange guys mixed in the army. Some rode wolves, some held slightly red iron pipes in their hands, and half a cigar in their mouths, looking like stinky hooligans. Who are these people? Su Jiantao frowned, full of doubts. A few minutes later, the curtain of a large tent in front of him was lifted, and a long-lost figure appeared. It was Ding Shi, one of the former 2 marshals of the Yihe kingdom. But now Ding Shi could almost be called an old general. His hair was gray, and there were some wrinkles on his face, but his eyes were still hale and hearty. "I'm Ding Shi. I've been waiting for Marquis Tsangnan for a long time." Ding Shi crossed his chest with one hand, still performing the military salute of the Qin Empire. Su Jiantao dismounted and cupped his fists. "I am Su Jiantao, greeting General Ding Shi." "Marquis, you're too kind." Ding Shi looks at Su Jiantao's military salute and is a little surprised. It seems that, as the legend says, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing have already implemented the military salute reform in the Qin army. It's interesting that the brave don't stir up trouble and the strong don't violate the ban. I don't know why General Ding Shi wants to cut off our army's supply route. Su Jiantao asked directly. Ding Shi smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "Old friend, don't quarrel with me the moment we meet. I didn't come to Lingnan province to quarrel with you. Come, I'll take you to see someone." "You must, keep calm." "Oh? What kind of person can make me, Su Jiantao, lose my calm?" General Ding Shi can't be thinking that Su Jiantao is still the young boy from the Holy Temple, right? "Yo, you'll know when you see him." Ding Shi lifted the curtain of the tent and walked in first, followed by Su Jiantao. There are many people sitting on both sides of the tent, but judging by their clothes, they don't look like people from Shattered Cauldron World. Su Jiantao suddenly frowned. The aura of these young men and women is extraordinary, and some are even stronger than Feng Jixing and the others. Who are they? But right when Su Jiantao's gaze landed on the host's seat, the young girl that knelt on the meditation cushion, his entire body instantly trembled, and his mind went blank. That peerlessly exquisite appearance and extraordinary figure were extremely similar to a person from the legends. No. It wasn't just similar, even the disposition she emitted was exactly the same. Plop. Su Jiantao was so excited that he suddenly knelt on one knee and made a military salute. His whole body trembled, and even his voice was almost out of control. Subordinate Marquis Tsangnan, Su Jiantao, kowtows to Her Highness Yin. Terralin, who was sitting on one side, smiled. See, another one who has mistaken me for someone else. Sheen, quickly tell him that you're not Qin Yin. Sheen closed her eyes and faced Su Jiantao, and said, Marquis Tsangnan, do I really look like that Empress Qin Yin? Could it be that Her Highness? Her Highness is not the Empress? Su Jiantao was somewhat at a loss. Nope. Sheen moved her red lips and seemed to be somewhat regretful. Perhaps, Su Jiantao was stunned. His eyes looked around and finally fell on one person. He immediately pulled out his sword and shouted, Xiangyu, you traitor. The Empire has treated you well, but you actually betrayed us. Xiangyu's expression was calm, as if he had long guessed that Su Jiantao would be like this. Marquis Tsangnan, don't be in a hurry to curse. I submitted to Sheen because I don't want the people of Mingshan province to be plunged into misery and suffering. It sounds nice, but you're just greedy for life and afraid of death. Whatever you say. Su Jiantao gritted his teeth, suddenly stood up, and said to the guard behind him, someone, immediately send a letter to the Luo River Estuary Fortress, tell Her Highness Yu that Her Highness Qin Yin is in Lingnan province, and tell her to come to Dragon Slaying Pass immediately. Yes. Wait. Ding Shi raised his hand to stop him. Marquis Tsangnan, Her Highness Lin Muyu is currently guarding the Luo River Estuary. If he comes and the Luo River Estuary is lost, can you bear this responsibility? Su Jiantao's eyes flickered. He once again knelt down on one knee and said in a deep voice, Her Highness Yu, this subordinate does not know why you don't acknowledge your identity, but this subordinate is very clear about everything Lin Muyu has done for you. He has shouldered the responsibility that you should have shouldered, racked his brains, was covered with cuts and bruises, fought for 6 years, and waited for you for 6 years. Her Highness Yu, I beg you, don't let him wait for so long. Lin Muyu, Sheen frowned. But I don't have him in my memory. Do you want to force me to fall in love with someone I don't know? This subordinate, Su Jiantao gritted his teeth. He didn't know what to say. After nearly half a minute, he suddenly raised his head and said, Her Highness Yu, what if this subordinate can prove that you are Qin Yin? Oh? How do you want to prove it? Sheen asked. Bloodline. Su Jiantao said, you are a member of the Qin family. You have the bloodline of the Qin family's supreme emperor. Your bloodline has a tyrannical power called the God-binding lock. I think you must also know the power of this martial spirit. Your Highness, please summon the God-binding lock immediately. Only the Qin family has the God-binding lock. This is enough to prove everything. But... Sheen murmured, I don't know the power of the God-binding lock. Don't make things difficult for me, Marquis Tsangnan. No, you are Qin Yin. Su Jiantao clenched his fist so hard that it made a buzzing sound. His nails dug into his flesh and blood seeped out. He said each word sonorously, I beg you, open your eyes and look at this subordinate. Look at this world that originally belonged to you. Everyone in this world is waiting for you to rule the world again. Your Highness, you, please open your eyes and look at this subordinate. Maybe it can make you remember the past. Do you really want Sheen to open her eyes? Don't regret it. Terralyn said lightly. This subordinate will never regret it. Well, Sheen, open your eyes and look at him. Let him look at you. Okay. Sheen gently nodded. Her eyelashes were surrounded by golden flames. She slowly opened her eyes, and suddenly, an invisible scorching aura filled the surroundings. When Sheen completely opened her eyes, a pair of golden red eyes of blazing light turned into the power of a domain that was the best in the three realms. The surrounding group of people almost couldn't breathe. This was a very uncomfortable feeling. Xiangyu couldn't help but lower his head. Even though he had seen the eyes of blazing light once, he still didn't want to face this kind of eyes that seemed to belong to a true god again. Ah, a beast-like gurgling sound came from Su Jiantao's throat. He felt as if he had fallen into purgatory. He couldn't move, and every inch of his skin seemed to be burning. Under the gaze of the eyes of blazing light, he would rather choose death than to bear this kind of fear and deterrence. But as one of the commanders of the Longdan army camp, Su Jiantao still put one fist on the ground and maintained his original kneeling posture. He gritted his teeth and said, "You. Are you really not Her Highness Sheen?" Sheen stared at him and slowly nodded. "I don't think so. At least, Your Highness Sheen doesn't have such eyes, right?" Yes, Su Jiantao finally couldn't help but lower his head. His nose was sour, and tears flowed out of his eyes and splashed on the ground. Sheen slowly closed her eyes. She knew that no one in this world would be willing to be stared at by her like this. Compared to them, she was like a living monster. She looked at Su Jiantao with clear eyes and suddenly smiled. The Cangnan province chain artillery formation defeated the main force of the Blackstone Empire, and then forced the Fuyu army to retreat with a false strategy in Zhanlong Pass. Why is the famous general of the Qin army, Su Jiantao, crying here? Xiangyu also sneered. Su Jiantao sobbed, and his tears kept splashing on the ground. I, Su Jiantao, am not crying out of fear, but my heart aches for my commander Yu. He has waited for so long, but it's all in vain. He originally had a heaven-bestowed talent, enough to be favored by any emperor in the heaven realm, but he lingers in this insignificant broken cauldron world, suffering in the war. She was silent. Xiangyu gritted his teeth and didn't say anything. On the other hand, Terralyn seemed to be moved. Her eyes were red, and her nose was sour. She almost cried as she asked, Su Jiantao, that Lin Muyu really has such deep feelings for Qin Yin? Su Jiantao looked up at Terralyn and said, I, Su Jiantao, am a boorish man. I don't know what love is all my life, but I know that His Highness Yu sealed himself for 4 years for Qin Yin, then entered purgatory, challenged the Ghost Emperor, entered the Celestial Pole continent, fought with Demon Emperor-level experts, and got himself covered in wounds, all for the promise he once made to His Highness Yu's father, Great Emperor Qin Jin. He could have been at ease in Xiaoyao, with a group of wives and concubines, but now, he is still waiting alone in the cold night. If this isn't love, then what is? Terralyn pursed her red lips and said, Sheen, if you are really Qin Yin, I am very envious of you. By the way, Su Jiantao, that His Highness Yu, is he handsome? Su Jiantao frowned. His Highness Yu's handsomeness is unparalleled in the entire empire. Then he is so handsome that he has no friends? Yes. Sheen, I am even more envious of you. Terralyn giggled, easing the originally oppressive atmosphere. At this time, Sheen said slowly, Su Jiantao, are you willing to listen to my orders? If you are, I will help you guard Dragon Slaying Pass. How about it? This, Su Jiantao frowned, but said, I refuse. Why? Dragon Slaying Pass is the land of the Qin family. It is not something that I, Su Jiantao, can decide. But, with the troops in your hands, are you a match for Bailey Qin and Bailey Yen? No, but I will do my best to fight. I will have a clear conscience and a clear conscience for the people. You are indeed a good general, but it is a pity that you are too stupid. Xin slowly raised his palm and said, Guards, detain Su Jiantao. Tomorrow at dawn, go to Dragon Slaying Pass and take over all the defense of Dragon Slaying Pass. Ensure that the civilians in the pass are not plundered. Su Jiantao was stunned. Your Highness, are you going to use force? Yes. Then I have changed my mind. I am willing to surrender to your Highness, but your Highness must change your banner to that of the Qin army. Moreover, as long as your Highness you gives the order, I will still listen to his orders. Is that okay? This, Xin frowned. Otherwise, this subordinate would rather bite off my tongue and commit suicide. All right, I promise you. Thank you, your Highness. Chapter 878. On the next day, besides the violet Inghua flower flag, another flag of the Xi'an Corps had risen within Dragon Slaying Pass, and it caused the scouts of the Darkstone Empire that were watching from afar outside the pass to be completely bewildered. Xi'an has appeared again, in the forest. Bailey Qin, Fu Yu, and the others gazed at the Dragon Slaying Pass. Bailey Qin was dressed in military attire, his face full of anger. This little girl is stretching her hands too far. Does she want even the Dragon Slaying Pass? Fu Yu clenched his fists and said, Marshal, I feel that Xi'an seems to be intentionally going against our Darkstone Empire. She said that she doesn't want to see slaughter, but isn't she actually trying to fight for territory with us? The Dragon Slaying Pass and the Heavenly Saint Pass have both fallen into her hands. This means that the two westward passages on the White Radiance Mountain are in her hands. Wouldn't it be like drawing water with a sieve? Xi'an wants to unify the southern ridge? Bailey Qin frowned. The task His Majesty gave me must be completed. There's no need to say anything else. Choose 20 elite warriors to follow me into the Dragon Slaying Pass. I want to meet Xi'an and see what she wants. Ancestor, please think thrice. Bailey Yen, who was dressed like a scholar, hurriedly said, We still don't know Xi'an's true intentions. If we enter the Dragon Slaying Pass rashly, I'm afraid that if Xi'an makes trouble, so what if she makes trouble? Bailey Qin's lips curled up. I, Bailey Qin, have dominated the celestial pole continent for more than 10,000 years. Only Sikong Ming and Lord Longxi can make me concede defeat. It's just Xi'an, a level 7 battle angel. Do you think I'm afraid of her? Humph, if I hadn't rejected the Blazing Angel Wa's request to ascend back then, I'm afraid that I would at least be a four-winged angel in the Western Divine Realm who wields power over a region. Compared to an angel in charge, a battle angel is merely a lowly lackey. Yes, all right then. Bailey Yen was a little worried. Commander Fu Yu, please choose elite warriors to follow the ancestor. Fu Yu chuckled. Don't worry, military advisor. I will personally accompany the marshal. That's good. In the afternoon, the mansion within the Dragon Slaying Pass received news from the Blackstone Empire's main camp. It was lunchtime, and under Su Jiantao's orders, the Spirit Fire Division arranged a rather sumptuous lunch. The large round table was filled with all kinds of delicacies. There were things that flew in the sky, ran on the ground, and swam in the water. The Shattered Cauldron realm was very rich in species, so there were countless wild and delicious dishes. Terralin, Lake, and the other battle angels were amazed. Many of the delicacies had never been eaten even in the Western Divine Realm. I finally understand why the Lord Ruler insisted on competing with the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor for this spiritual mountain plain. Terralin wiped her mouth and laughed, so it's to compete for the most delicious thing in the world. Ah, where did this naked piece of meat come from? It's so delicious. Su Jiantao said respectfully, it's a sausage made from wild boar meat, Lady Terrelin. Oh, I see. Then, what about this plate? These messy things are actually so mellow and delicious. What is it? Could it be the brain of a holy beast? No, this plate is called crystal tofu. It was created by the former Emperor Radiant King, Qin Jin. It's also a specialty dish of the royal chefs in the Swallow Blue City's Zetian Palace. Coincidentally, one of the people from the Spirit Fire Division who came with me used to be a royal chef. Crystal tofu? Delicious. Terrelin ate heartily. Lake smiled playfully and said, Terrelin, you're the heir of the Radiant clan and a level 6 battle angel from the Divine Realm. You have to pay attention to your table manners, okay? Look, everyone's looking at you. Hee hee. Terrelin laughed, it's too delicious. I couldn't control myself for a moment. However, Su Jiantao's gaze remained fixed on Xiyin. Her bowl was already filled with food that the waitresses had placed in it, but she was only taking small bites. Her brows were slightly furrowed, and she did not comment on whether the food tasted good or bad. Especially when she tasted the crystal tofu, her body trembled slightly. Somehow, she felt as if she had tasted this dish before. Lady Xiyin, are you all right? How does it taste? Su Jiantao asked. Xiyin closed her eyes and nodded. It's delicious. Then, do you feel a sense of familiarity with this dish? Su Jiantao smiled meaningfully. If you feel that it's familiar, then that's right. This dish was created by your father, Qin Jin. When he was alive, he made it for you many times. He was recalling Sheen's memories bit by bit. He had put in a lot of effort. Sheen smiled. Perhaps. I'm not too sure myself. Is that so? Su Jiantao was slightly disappointed. On the contrary, Xiangyu tore off a rabbit's leg and quickly finished it. He said, in another 2 hours, Bailey Qin will enter the Dragon Slaying Pass to discuss business. I think we should stop talking about food and think about how to deal with this God Emperor Realm Marshal of the Blackstone Empire. Moreover, Bailey Qin is an 87th level Paradise God Emperor. He's extremely strong. It's fine. Leave it to me. Sheen's voice was very slow and gentle, but it was unquestionable. I hope so. Su Jiantao looked around and said, someone, go and prepare the meeting hall. Set up the bell-sucking cliff and arrange the magic crystal crossbow team outside. Also, make the guards all wear swords tempered with demon heart stone. Remember, as long as one person succeeds, Bailey Qin is finished. Terrelin couldn't help but laugh. Commander Su Jiantao, you're thinking too much. Although the demon heart stone can restrain God Realm experts, the prerequisite is that it can pierce through their skin and fuse with their blood. But these guards of yours. Forgive me for being blunt. Even if they perform 10,000 sword stabs, they might not be able to pierce through Lord Bailey Qin's God Wall. Moreover, with such a long time, Lord Bailey Qin would have killed them all. So, it's better if you don't arrange it. Don't let them die in vain. Su Jiantao was a little embarrassed. He rubbed his nose and said, just in case, I'll arrange it. Up to you. As long as you're happy. At this moment, Sheen wiped her mouth and stood up. I'm done eating. Terrelin, Lake, Zhou Shimin, arrange for all the Battle Angel team members to follow me to the meeting hall. Bailey Qin will definitely not give up this time. I don't think we can avoid a battle. I will make the first move. If I can't defeat him, you guys help me. Even if the 7 of us work together, as long as we can suppress Bailey Qin, he won't dare to act rashly. Yes. Terrelin, don't eat anymore, no, bring this dish to my room. I'll heat it up for dinner and continue eating. Terrelin looked at the dishes on the table. She felt like she was going to be separated forever. Su Jiantao was speechless. Lady Terralyn, although we're at war now, the resources in Lingnan are very rich. The officials in Bai Ling City and the nearby prefectures will constantly send delicious food here. As long as you like it, you can eat every meal. Really? Terralyn was overjoyed. Commander Su Jiantao, you're the best. Su Jiantao looked at this gluttonous battle angel with a helpless expression. If all the gods in the Western Divine Realm were so cute, then there wouldn't be any wars between the three realms. Even if there were, it would be for food. In the afternoon, Sheen, Terralyn, and the other battle angels were all standing on the walls of Zhanlong Pass. In the distance, round craters appeared on the walls. Some looked like crescent moons, some looked like round balls. In short, they were all caused by the magic crystal cannons. The destructive energy was too terrifying. Unfortunately, it still couldn't kill a god-state expert like Bailey Qin. Ka, a soldier from the land of exile, was holding a spear as he squatted silently behind the battlements. Only half of his head was exposed, and the barrel of the spear was aimed into the distance. Through the scope, a row of cavalries was slowly walking out from the Darkstone Empire's campsite a few kilometers away. Astonishingly, Bailey Qin was at the front. Bailey Qin looked up at the dragon-slaying pass and suddenly felt someone spying on him. He looked into the scope and smiled. Ah, the sniper from the land of exile couldn't help but put down his spear, his face full of sweat. "What's wrong, Ariat?" Terralyn asked. Ariat was the sniper's name. He panted and said, "Bailey Qin, he seems to have sensed me." "Nonsense, he's a god, and you're just a holy warrior. Do you really think that your origin sniper rifle can kill a god?" Ariat shook his head with lingering fear. "I guess, it's impossible. Unfortunately, there's only one such origin sniper rifle in the entire Sheen Corps." Terralyn shook her head regretfully and said, "Otherwise, if hundreds of snipers were to aim together, they might really be able to break through the divine wall and blow Bailey Qin's head off." Ariat, Sheen, who had been silent all this while, said indifferently, "Ariat, lead all the long-range attackers of the land of exile and stay on the city wall. Guard against the enemy's surprise attack, understand?" "Yes, Your Highness." A group of experts from the land of exile knelt down one after another. To them, Sheen wasn't some battle angel, but the invincible Dark Moon Queen. She was also their sovereign and the true ruler. Not long after, Bailey Qin and the others arrived at the city wall. Looking at Sheen and the others, Bailey Qin cupped his hands and smiled. "Lord Sheen, it's been a long time. I didn't expect you to come to Dragon Slaying Pass, sorry for not coming out to welcome you." "No need to be so polite, Marshal Bailey. Let's enter the pass. We'll have a chat in the conference hall." "Yes." The door slowly opened. When Bailey Qin, Fu Yu, Han Shu, and the others entered the pass, it immediately closed again. The hooves of the horses stepped on the hard stone road and entered the city. Fu Yu raised his head and looked around. The walls were all covered with white diamonds and demonic hard arrows. The archers had already drawn their bows and aimed straight at them, sending chills down one's spine. "Humph, the Qin Kingdom's way of treating their guests is really extraordinary." Fu Yu sneered. Sheen also smiled. The golden light wings behind him slowly spread open, and he lightly flew down the city wall, leading the way. Meanwhile, Terralyn, Lake, and the others held their swords at their waists and vigilantly brought up the rear. Su Jiantao rode on a black warhorse, slowly moving forward with Bailey Qin. Bailey Qin couldn't help but sneer, "Commander Su Jiantao, you're really powerful. You've forced my army to retreat again and again. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I know that the commander is also immortal." Su Jiantao smiled faintly. "Marshal Bailey Qin, you're a celestial, and I'm immortal. However, mortals won't just sit and wait for death. If we counterattack, we might even kill a god." A trace of killing intent flashed past Bailey Qin's eyes. At this time, Sheen slowly turned around and said, "If you have anything to say, we'll talk in the conference hall." You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.